A call to order and certification of a quorum workshop meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council, December 17, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. And we're going to go straight to number 2, and I guess the first item of discussion is the hot funds.
Okay, hot funds. Well, the purpose of this item is to talk about establishing an application process for how we award hot funds. And that's, when I say hot funds, I mean to organizations and to groups. Currently, we don't have a process. They're usually handled like on a case-by-case basis. You do have a resolution. It's in draft form. What that resolution does, it establishes the process. There's an application form. We also have a post-event reporting form, you know, should we decide to go with this. Under state law, every expenditure from hot funds can only be used to promote tourism or the hotel industry. And there's a total of 9 categories that are identified as eligible hot fund expenditures, and they're listed in the guidelines. And I believe that's in page 2 of the attachment that you have. You do have the attachment, right? It's a...
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So the advantage of having a system or an application process is that it'll allow for groups and organizations to submit applications to request hot funds. Currently, like I said, we don't have that. We handle them on a case-by-case basis. I did want to talk about currently, we have about $332,000 in hot funds. That's the amount that we have today. If the council were to decide to move forward with a process such as this, I would recommend that we keep about 10% in reserve, so that will leave a balance of about $300,000 in the hot funds for the council to consider awarding, should the council want to go in that direction. If the council does want to move forward with a process such as this, we could bring it to council at the next council meeting, you know, for approval. That would be January the 6th. The next part to that would be we would need direction from the council on an application period. Do you want to advertise for 30 days or for 45 days? It's up to the council on how long you want to keep that process open.
Mary?
Yes.
Does that include or discount that $83,000 or part of that $83,000 that we're going to pay on the docks?
That has already been excluded.
That takes
Yes,
that
that's
out.
the available amount that we have. It includes all of those expenditures already.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess everybody else knows pretty much what we'll do. Somebody turns in an application, it gets put on the agenda, and the council will act on it, right?
That's what we do right now.
Yeah.
We get a request and we bring it to council.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now. But this would open up the process, and we would have a program, you know, for distributing hot fund monies to organizations if the council wanted to move in that direction. You know, and one thing that I would recommend is every year, the amount of money that we have available after we take out all of the budgeted expenditures, the balance in the hot funds is about $90,000.
So 90,000 is really
That's
how much we have to.
Well, right now
to
we
share.
have about 300,000. That's how much
Okay.
we have today. But what
Okay,
I'm
I heard
saying
that.
is every year after we take out the budgeted expenditures, we have about 90,000. So let's just say we open up the council moves
Okay.
forward, we award 300,000 every year. Am I correct, Sandra? We would have about, after we take out the budgeted expenditures,
Okay.
we would have about 90,000. And what I was going to recommend is, in order to allow for that fund to grow, is perhaps open up the process after this year, open it up every 2 years to allow that to grow. Instead of, you know, next year, instead of awarding 90,000, you do it every 2 years, you'd have about 180,000, give or take.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So as far as the application and the process, I know that there's a few other cities, neighboring cities that use this process. And I think they open up the application for a period of time at the beginning of the year, and then it's closed.
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
going to recommend, if the council moves forward with this process, we could bring it back on January the 6th, and we can open it up for a 30-day period, maybe to January 31st, or if you want to do February 15, for
Yeah, I would
45
think a
days.
little bit longer, just to
Uh-huh.
get the word out.
Okay,
That
exactly.
this process is happening.
And of course,
The
we
first
would push-
quarter might be too long, because
Uh-huh.
that's 3 months, but
Okay.
maybe to March 1st. I mean, that's 60
However
days.
long the council wants to open it up, and we'd push it out on, we'd post it on our website, we'd publish it, and we'd push it out on, social media, just to get the word out,
Yeah.
for organizations that may want to submit an application. Yes, sir.
Where did we come up with the amount of $300,000?
Yes.
It's what's in the bank right now, minus what we've already appropriated in the budget, minus what the council appropriated last night, and minus the VFW HVAC that we appropriated as well. So that's really the money that you have in the bank right now that's available to you to
Okay, I'm
appropriate.
thinking ahead. I know that's what we got now.
Yes.
Is that what we're planning on every year, or is it
No,
gonna
it's like,
fluctuate?
it's like Mary was saying, it's like Ms. Waters was saying, that every year, on average, you're gonna grow that balance about 90,000, because we did a 7-year average. We looked at 7 years worth of collections, and we grew that account, you grow that account by like about $90,000.
That's what we're going to save.
Correct. No, every year, like this year, we're looking to collecting and growing that balance. If you do nothing today, and you say, we're not gonna spend any money, hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, you're gonna have 390,000. And then hopefully the following year, you'll have 480,000 if you don't spend it.
That was my answer.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what I was looking for.
Yeah, sorry about that,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, but for right now, we actually have $300,000 that
Yes,
we
sir.
can expend. Okay, we just need to come up with good ideas and good projects to be able to utilize that money, right?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, if there's a
And it's better than
consensus.
bigger projects than little bitty ones.
And
Are
it's
you
all,
ready for a
it's all in the
suggestion,
direction
Mayor?
to help promote.
VFW wants a tank.
Yeah, it's like, one particular one is the sign in the entrance of Aransas Pass. Coming in from 35 into Aransas Pass, it would be nice for us to have something like Ingleside or other places, even Rockport has some, to where it's a real nice lit up, clean area around them, and it, to say, welcome to the city of Aransas Pass or whatnot or whatever.
Yeah, that is a good project, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Mr. Dominguez?
No, he just answered it.
Okay.
It was all in the direction to help promote the city of Aransas Pass. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah.
that's-
But the application process that she's referring to allows other organizations in town to tap into that money if it applies to their,
As long as it fits
application.
one of the categories that is
Yeah.
listed in the guidelines, it has to,
Correct.
fit into one of those categories in order for it to be an eligible
Right.
project or activity.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
other
All right.
one
I
would-
like it.
and the other one would be to
I
paint
like the idea.
something on a big water tower, but on the
Where you can
the
see
north
it.
side, on the north side of the water tower versus it just being blank.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and on that note also, do you remember when we had the sculptor for the
Yes.
roundabout?
On the roundabout,
Yes.
that's the
The
other one.
That is,
roundabout.
yeah.
Oh, the boat,
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that would be another project.
Yeah.
At the roundabout, yes.
That's another good project. Yeah, because that's definitely a tourist destination.
Okay. Okay, well, if there's a consensus from the council, and it looks like there is, I mean, we can bring it back to
Yes.
formally approve this process. We'll bring it back on the 6th, and then we can open up the application process. You said, Councilmember Scruggs, till March 1st, is that what?
What do y'all think?
I think
The first quarter?
since it start and keep
Since
it
the
going a little
grand-
longer, that way people
Maybe the end
latch
of March?
onto it.
The end of March, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
That
All
way we
right.
can get the word out.
Yeah.
Give us enough time.
Better, and then maybe next year we can go back to only, 30, 60 days or whatever. But I think the first time around, let everyone know what we're doing.
Okay,
what's
all right.
available.
Okay, thank you.
Those were three really, really good projects.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep, the sign and the roundabout.
Okay. No, the other one is the proposed charter amendments. Mr. Isasi. Sauce.
Good afternoon, council. Again, thank you for having me this afternoon, and hopefully what I'm going to try to do is go through these amendments. I know the Charter Amendment Committee worked real hard, I believe for 4 or 5 months, trying to come up with these suggestions for the council to consider. I've worked with Mary and Candace on these as well, here in the last month and a half, and what I want to do is just go through them. I believe there's about 18 amendments being proposed. So if we can get started, we'll start with the first one, the administration. And if you look at it, it's kind of self-explanatory. You'll see where it says red struck, whatever's red struck, that's the language that's going to be struck out of the existing language. And then the bold underline is what's being added to it. And in this one, it's talking about the administration and appointment and qualifications of the city manager. What's being changed here is that whoever gets appointed as a city manager, it says shall become a resident of the city within 6 months. That's the change. The way it reads right now is that person needs to become a resident within a reasonable period of time, okay? Again, this is just more definitive. What's reasonable to me might be a year, 2 years, just depending on what's going on and what actions the council's taking to try to accommodate that, as opposed to being solidifying a time frame and saying 6 months, and that person needs to be here within 6 months. So, and I've seen other charters work this way with a specific time frame. It's just a matter what you guys are comfortable with, whether it's 6 months, 9 months, a year.
Mr. Salchi?
Yes, sir.
Mary, is a city manager hired, is that person on a probation period?
I don't think so.
I don't read it in a charter. I know some other cities do have a probationary period, but it's not in the documentation that I've read as far as that being the case here in Aransas Pass.
Normally it's 90 days, so HR don't have anything?
No, I don't believe it's, I mean, it may be addressed in the contract when the council hires a city manager and they enter into that employment contract. It may be addressed in there.
Yeah,
I don't recall.
I know they used to have
What's the
probation.
reason why they have to live in Aransas Pass? I'm just curious and asking.
Why?
Well, that was exactly what I was gonna bring
I
up.
mean, what's the reason for it that they have to live in Aransas? Is it just because?
Well, there's not, I'll answer that. There's not a reason. At some point, somebody just thought it was reasonable to put it in here at some point.
I
It's just-
disagree.
I think that,
I'd just like to know the reason why.
The reason that I would say is because this city pays them their salary. They could,
That's right.
they need to put their money into this city also and become a part of this community where they're known. People know who they are, people can converse with them, instead of the last city manager that we had was not known and didn't talk to people. And he spent his money in Corpus Christi.
Yeah, they
We're
need to have
paying
some
him
skin in the game.
to stay here and work for this city.
Yeah, but
Well,
there's a difference between them staying here or them just, you know, because in true reality, they're employees, they're getting paid, and I understand where you're coming from, but they're straight up employees, and they can still keep mind and pay attention to what's going on within the city. Now, you're referring to spending money, and you're talking about spending money paying taxes like everybody else? Well, I don't know, maybe, I see it a different way. They're getting paid to do a job, just to do a job. And I understand that as far as, you know, why should they be required to spend their money here just because they work here?
Okay, on the second hand, Ram, I'm not getting paid to do a job, so
Me either.
does that mean that I can live in another city and still be a
Well, if
city
they
councilman
change the way the
here?
charter works.
Well,
I
you're
don't see
being
why not.
elected by the people within this,
Yeah.
within your jurisdiction.
Yes.
It's an elected
Yeah.
position,
I'm
which is
okay with
different.
you living somewhere else and being a council member here, yes.
Well, see, I mean, that's the same difference, but
But
if the
it's the
city
same thing.
manager lives here, he converses with the people, he becomes part of the community.
Well, as part of their job, I think they already spend like 10 hours a day here. And if anybody wants to visit with them, they can come visit with them at the city hall. Or call and make an appointment or whatnot. You know, hey, Mayor, I want to talk to you, hey, let me see what's going on. But if they stay on top of it and stay on top of their job, then, you know, but I think she wants to say something.
Well, I think the city manager should be here because a city manager is pretty much the ambassador of the city. They're the ones that are running the show.
No, that's the mayor.
And, well, day-to-day operations is ran by the city manager of any
Well,
city
they have
services.
their
With the
staff.
title of ambassador, that would be the
And-
They
mayor.
have their staff, and their staff were the ones that actually, even from the public works to the finance director to the fire chief, police chief, they have their titles, their jobs to
Yeah.
do. Her job is just to oversee them and make sure they're doing their job right. And I understand what you're talking about, you know, yes, they're the ones leading the town, they're the ones that are leading those employees and whatnot to where we can be productive and be a good city. But I
But
don't-
in the same sense, you're saying, you know, I've said this all along, the city is a business. We run the city as a business. And every business in town, Lowe's, Whataburger, H-E-B, what have you, AEP, those people do, the head person of those businesses are not made to live in Aransas Pass.
Well, no, their salaries aren't paid for with tax dollars either. And the thing, let's say you got,
But
well,
I think she wants to say
You're
something,
also
because then he wants to
limiting,
say something.
you're also limiting the people that are qualified within your city limits.
Yes.
That's the
Qualified
biggest
for that.
thing for me.
But then
You're
asking-
limiting-
You're asking the person you're gonna hire to live, to move away from their home to come stay over here because it's required by the job. I mean.
And if they
I
have
know a lot of
children or whatever,
companies
they're
that
not gonna take the
They do
job.
not require you to stay there, but.
the main opinion, the main thing I have out of all this, city manager here makes pretty good chunk of change. And if they can't afford to buy a house in Aransas Pass, then they got a problem managing money, then they shouldn't
Well,
be
it's
here in the
not a
first
point
place.
of not being able
I
to
don't
afford a house in
think it's a
Aransas
problem
Pass.
about
That's
buying
not
the
the
house.
point.
I think it's a problem of them saying, hey, it's okay, I worked there, do I really have to live there? It's not about affording the house. I'm just saying, but.
I think a lot of these provisions were made way back when.
Mhm.
I don't know when this provision was modified
A
last or
long time
amended,
ago.
but I would imagine 1920s, when transportation wasn't as good, the roads weren't as good.
But now
and it was
different.
more difficult to get from one location to where you need to be in case of an emergency. Nowadays, Corpus, I mean, you got fine roads, excellent roads. You can be here in 20 minutes in case of an
Mhm.
emergency, right?
Yes.
Now, another thing is that you got that issue to consider, and then again, by going this route, you're going to limit your pool of applicants coming in, okay? And I had another,
Epi, how could we limit that? If somebody, we're hiring from without, they're not here anyway. They have to move this area to work here.
and they're gonna come with they're gonna come with a heavy cost, because they know they're gonna have to make that expenditure to come over here. And I've seen it in other cities, and they've done it. They've hired from without, and they come in, say, from San Antonio. And then at the end, they kind of back out and say, you know what, we're not gonna make the move after all, so we start that process again, because they weren't willing to make that final move. Now, one of the things that I've seen some charters do is they say the individual can reside within 100 miles of whatever city, right? I mean, that's
30
another
miles.
consideration.
I'm
They're
not
still
gonna go for
residing
100
here,
miles.
But
30
within
miles.
100 miles or 50 miles, whatever the case is.
It's gotta close.
But that's a preference for the council to decide. I'm just trying to throw some
Right,
suggestions
thank
for y'all
you.
too.
Thank you.
Yeah, because even sometimes, Jason, it's not whether they can afford it, the city spends some money on it for them to get moved over here.
Sir,
You know
well,
what I
hang on a
mean?
minute.
And it's not about, they get quite a bit of money just for them to move over here.
Hi, guys. Y'all all know me, but I'm just going to go ahead and state my name for those that are watching that don't. But my name's Elise Chacon, and I was chairman of the Charter Review Committee. I thought maybe I'd just kind of let y'all know where we were coming from, because we were the ones that stated we wanted the 6 months in there. And the reason is because all of our communities around here have it that way for our city managers. And our city manager, like you said, Carrie, they are running a business and fiscally in charge of our money. Where does that money come from? Where do they get that money that they're going to use to run this city? It's from us taxpayers that live here. And so if they can't put their own money here, how can we expect them to then responsibly handle that money? We saw it with our past city manager. He got us in a lawsuit that cost us millions of dollars. He did not live here. He actually bought a house when he wasn't living here. He was already a city manager, and then he chose somewhere else to live. And these were just simple things. He's the only position in this city that it's asked for. You all nominated people for this committee, and that's what we did. We all got together and we spent a lot of time, and we went through this charter that had not been done in a very, very long time, and we spent a lot of time. We all got along well. We didn't have any issues until some of you got involved at the end of it all. And so what I'm going to ask again is that instead of each issue just going on and on where y'all start debating everything, there would have been, if y'all are going to do that, there was no point in having us. Then you've wasted all of our time. I sound a little frustrated because I am. We have continuously been, as a committee, been berated. We've been lied about. Y'all tried to divide us, some of you. Ram, you allowed someone to go on your Facebook and do a post for you, which you really need to stop doing that because they don't make you look good.
Elise,
What was that?
excuse me.
No. Please let me talk. Wait, please let me
You're
talk.
totally off
No,
topic.
please let me talk because this is for the committee.
No,
You spoke about the committee.
We're not gonna be up there.
The Charter Review Committee was spoken about.
I'm sorry.
I am defending that. I am the chairman, and I will
You're
defend.
accusing me of stuff that I didn't do, and you
I
don't even
will-
know me.
okay, stop.
So, Don't accuse me of things that I haven't done.
Okay, well then you
because it's
posted
your
it and you
assumption.
look stupid.
No, whatever.
So there.
Please.
Okay, please listen. I was the chairman. I will sit here or stand here all night and defend that committee. We did a lot of work because we were appointed. We took time away from our families, our businesses.
We all do that
And-
also.
I've done it for
You
seven-
all like that
seven years.
also.
But why
Let it
have us
go.
if you waste our time? We're asking you just to.
No one's wasting your time. You're
If
here,
you're gonna get
and
up
we're
here-
going through
We're
these.
here, and we're going through it, and we're talking about it.
We
Now,
have.
We're not
at the
even
end of the
asking
day-
why was that?
At the end of the day,
This has
what we
been our
come up
first
with, because
opportunity.
it's for them. We're not gonna go by one person.
This is not, this is,
This is a joke. What
This
you were
is
doing
not
is
a
you were making a
joke.
joke
No.
of this committee. This is why it hasn't been
I
done.
think it's a joke when you're accusing me of stuff that ain't even true.
Okay, did you make the post?
Whatever.
Did you make the
No.
post,
okay,
Ram?
that has
You did.
nothing to
I'm done.
do with 6 months for
It
the city
actually
manager.
does. You made a post about the Charter Review Committee. So don't tell me it doesn't have anything to do with this.
That
We're talking
conversation
about one
and that
item on the whole-
accusation has
on the whole
nothing
thing
to
right now.
do
We're
with
talking
what we're
about
doing.
whether we need them to live in the city or not, nothing else.
Okay, the reason the committee said 6 months is because it hasn't been enforced. We looked at many, many charters all around to see that, make sure that we weren't doing something that was unfair and unjust. We did exactly what we all thought, and we voted on it, and it,
Yeah, and
I
we're
wish I
talking
would have had
about
a count on
it.
it, but it was,
Yeah, and we're talking
we're
about it.
discussing
We're having
that
a
now.
discussion of it. That's
And
all we're
so,
doing, having
all-
a discussion.
that was
over
not, what y'all were doing up here was
whatever
not
y'all
a
asking
discussion.
for.
It was
We're
ridiculous.
going over the discussion here. We're discussing the items y'all are trying to change or recommend.
Apparently, y'all need to look
That's
up
all
what the
we're
word
doing.
discussion is
We're not
because you
voting on
are up
nothing
here
right now.
arguing and going back and
Just
forth
because
on
we have a
something.
difference
Why
of
have
opinion
the
don't mean
committee,
nothing.
why have us come up here and get together and ask the citizens to get involved
There
and
is
to
no
ask their
argument here.
opinions?
We were
No. I just
discussing
hate to people saying
what
stuff
we were
about it that ain't
talking
true.
about.
And you already know that.
Look up, pull up your Facebook, October 14th. It's very simple, Ram. I'm not making anything up. Carrie, you posted it, so just come on. Like,
No,
stop.
ma'am, I did not.
I'm sure you did.
Well,
I just.
thank you. It was written very eloquently, but I did not write that. Thank you very much.
No.
I think the easiest fix on all this is what.
This is ridiculous.
This is how democracy starts, this is how it's supposed to work.
No.
Anything
We're
on.
discussing an item.
I know, I know.
Our opinion is our opinion.
I'm giving mine. I'm
Yes, and
saying,
that's why at the end of the day, y'all are gonna do it and we're gonna vote on what's gonna happen.
I'm saying my opinion, it'll squash all this.
Which is
Let
fine.
democracy
You want them
work.
to live, you want them to live here, I
Hang
have a
on.
difference of opinion,
Hang
and I
on.
don't mind if they don't.
Hang on. Put
Plain and
all,
simple.
put all this on the ballot, and what people do not like, go out and campaign against it or for it, and let people decide at the ballot, and whatever the people decide, it's their choice, they pay the bills, it's their city charter. That's the simplest fix out of all this. Put it on the ballot.
Well,
Yeah, we're just having a discussion. We're not voting on anything right now. We're having a discussion.
So I have a comment.
thank you.
If you don't mind, I'd like to get back to the main topic. Could we maybe look at 1 to 2 years as an option?
Well,
And that's based on maybe if there's any kind of probation period. And trying to look at it, if I was coming in as city manager from a different area or location, I mean, I would have to
Feel
pull
comfortable.
everything up, move everybody, the family. And what if I have a business at that other city? I mean, everything's got to come to a halt, you know? So I agree with a limitation for sure. You know, anywhere from maybe a little bit, somewhere toward a year at least. You know,
Like I said,
if that's reasonable.
They're
There's
gonna
gotta
move-
be a number, there's gotta be a
But
number.
they're
because-
gonna move over here, right? They're gonna pick up their family and move to come work over here.
If they're
Well,
serious.
well, first of all, I would love to, I'm gonna pretend I'm me coming over here. Well, I wanna make sure that I'm gonna feel comfortable with the job, I feel comfortable with the people around me that are working. I don't wanna just pick up and go. 6 months to me is not enough time.
Yeah.
Maybe a year, okay, at the end of the day, yes, maybe they need to live here, yes. But it's hard for them to pick up their family and everything to move over here, and then it did it 6 months, and then you come to find out, I should have never done that. And now you gotta resign, and then you gotta pack up and leave? You know, at least give them some time to move in and get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with your job, get to know the people. You don't wanna just pick up and just go, and you don't know exactly what's gonna happen. Look at the stuff that's been going around here.
Graham, let me give you an answer to that. You have a business and you're from here.
And I hear every day.
Okay, let me talk, please. Carrie is from here. Jason is from here. Joe is from here. You guys are not out looking for another job. In my business, I went different places. I picked up and I went different places for my job, for the job I was trained to do. If this guy is trained to be a city manager, he knows he has to go somewhere because the life expectancy of a city manager
Yes.
is not very long. They know they have to go different places.
Yes.
So to pick up and go somewhere, it's not gonna hurt them because that's what they're used to.
Well, to have to live there permanently, all
We're not
I think
saying
is all I'm
permanently.
saying is 6 months is not enough time. I'm not disagreeing about them living here. Okay, I
Well,
just have a
we had
difference
a-
of opinion on how long it
We
should
had
be.
one that we
So,
hired that was
yeah,
gonna live here, was
there's no-
under contract to live here and didn't do it. He goes and rents a house at the end of town and says he lives here.
So was this
Well, then we gotta
amendment changed
redefine
only
what
for
actually
Gary
means neighborhood.
Edwards? Or are we only changing this for Gary Edwards? Because that's all I've heard. He's gone.
He's even
So
brought
this
up
has to
again right
be-
now.
So this
No,
needs to
but we
pertain
learned from
to,
past mistakes, and so we took them into consideration.
Did you want to
May
say
I
something?
speak?
Well,
I've been
The
a
mayor- the
planner
mayor.
for 50 years, and this is older than I am. It's dated back in 1941. And I realize that our concern is what we're going to do today. I'm sorry that this is happening from my perspective. It's a very simple matter. The whole thing came about because of the safety, health, and welfare of the general public. That was the reason for what this structure is all about. This is the Vernon Civil Statutes. Anybody want to read it? It's kind of old, but it's available. And the point being, as far as business concerned, the cities are meant to be protected. And if city managers, who are the key personnel of this community in terms of public works and how it operates, those are the ones that you need here most. Myself as a planner, I'll be honest, and when I went to Denton, I lived out of town. nobody said anything. But in reality, I had a fast car to get back to work if I had to. But it's, if something gets serious, we have a hurricane and you don't have a way to get in here, it's going to be very, very tough for each of you to do your job. And that's what we look for, how much we can do for ourselves. Anyway, that's the reason.
Well, I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Mr. Peacock, we're all in agreement that there
Yeah.
needs to
It's
be.
just the time
It's
limit.
just the timeline, it's just the
Timeline,
number.
that's it.
I got a question for Mr.
That's it.
Asasi.
Yes, sir.
Can we legally put that in a charter? Because state law says you can't require any city employee to reside in the city they work for.
Yes, because a lot of them
And
don't.
there's that.
Corpus requires it.
Well, but state law, you can't supersede state law. That's the problem. Local law, you can't.
Well,
Supersede it.
there's provisions, even our city of George West has those requirements also, that the city manager, and that's the problem we're having over there, getting a city manager, is that we can't get someone who's willing to make that move and move into George West. So right now, we've been operating with an interim city manager for, 3-4 years, or maybe even longer that I've been there, which, by the way, she's doing an excellent job. But she's not permanent because she doesn't live there and she's not willing to make that transfer over. So they can be placed in the, and they're also a home rule city.
Yeah.
And it's in our charter.
Well-
So it's
Well,
just
if they don't
it's
want to
just a
live here, then
timeframe
they don't
issue.
need the job.
Correct.
We can find
Yeah.
somebody else.
At the end of the day, yes. But I'm
that's-
just saying 6 months is just not enough time. That's all I'm saying, maybe a year, but
I'm
at the end of the
comfortable with a
day,
year.
yes. Huh?
I'm comfortable
Can
with
we
a
do a
year.
minimum and a maximum?
No.
Like within a minimum?
No, the maximum.
Maximum?
Yeah, maximum
Okay.
time. You have a year, before you move in, if not, you gotta give up your title and go somewhere else.
Either way, they're limited.
Yes.
Ram, the thing about it is though, if they've got a year then, and they move to Corpus, say, and they buy a home in Corpus, and then their year's up, do you think they're gonna stay with us, or they're gonna say, no, screw you, I'm not moving here, and what are we gonna do about it?
Apparently, they already knew from the start that you have to move over there, and they find a place somewhere else. I guess they don't really wanna work here.
If they really wanted to work here, they'd move.
No, they signed a contract that they're gonna move in here within a year, or a year, no later than a year. And if you don't, that means you need to move on. And if you ended up buying a house in Corpus, well, you bought it because you don't really wanna stay here.
And that's gonna be taken care of because city managers come with contracts, right? That's one of the only, I believe, city employees that come with contracts. And that's where that language is definitely gonna be put in there, because not only will we have this to protect ourselves, saying you gotta move in within, say, 6 months or a year, whatever the council decides, but their contract is also gonna say that, and should they fail to do that, then they forfeit their position.
The other one's contract said that also. So did the chief of police contract. They both violated it and didn't do it. Nothing was done about it.
I believe the
Well,
only,
that's what I think we ought to redefine it.
the only
Okay.
two positions in the city that are required to be residents of Aransas Pass, to my understanding, is just the city manager and the municipal court judge.
Yes.
Those are the only two positions that are required to be residents of the city.
Yeah, that's why I was fixing it. If
Then
we
the
don't
city
have the right
manager's
thing in there,
required.
then we need to specify on what, like he's saying. But in true reality, Gary had a house here, and that's what he was using as residence over here. Now, then, at this point, now that we're looking at this, we need to put something in there that you cannot just have a house here.
Well,
You
she
literally
said
have
he's
to live in it.
required.
Hmm?
She said his position is required to live here.
It says to be to be a resident.
Yeah, well,
So
he
that's-
bought a house, and he was saying, showing that he was staying here, he was living here.
Yeah,
And as
But
Mr.
that's what I'm
Isasi,
saying. That one we can make sure and we can follow through and do something about it.
and as Mr. Isasi said, the amount of time is usually addressed when they approve the employment contract. You could stay 6 months, you could stay a year. I mean, once you negotiate a contract with an individual, you determine how much time you're gonna give them before they become a resident of the city.
Because before you all make that final determination, whoever it is, you are gonna interview them.
Yeah.
And one of those questions you're gonna ask,
Yeah.
will you be moving here within this time frame?
Yes.
Okay, because if not, all bets are off, we need to reconsider somebody else, right? So they need to be willing to answer that in the affirmative, because if not, then you go on to the next candidate who's willing to do that and stay here.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's included in their contract.
I'm good with a year.
I'm good with the year too. But right now, we're not making no choices, we're just
No,
talking about it.
no, we're just discussing it. Sure.
Why don't we just let the people decide
I'm with that.
on all of this? Put it on the ballot.
It's the easiest way to deal with all this.
That's the easiest thing. It's not our city anyway, it's the people's city. Let them decide what they want of these changes to be done or not be done. Wouldn't that be better, Mr. Mayor? And easier?
I'm looking at, yes, okay. Let the
Let's-
citizens
let's
decide, which I
let's
agree
con-
with you 100%.
Let's continue to
Yeah.
go through these
Well,
propositions.
Gary, I'm talking to the
But
mayor right now.
I'm looking at at them needing more time to move in. We're still voting on them living in the city of Aransas Pass. We're talking about how long should they be allowed not to be here before they have to, by contract, they have to live here.
Oh, okay,
And I see what you're saying, and they're gonna,
But
the
Ram, let me
citizens at
just
the
say
end of the
one
day
more
are gonna
thing.
vote on it, yes, they
let
are.
me just say one more thing. If we hire somebody from Corpus to be city manager, I can understand that they need to have time to move here, decide if they want to stay, because they have a home and everything in Corpus. If they hire somebody from San Antonio, we don't want them living in San
No,
Antonio.
don't move over here, I promise you.
Yeah, but so,
Yes, don't move
so
over.
the issue
It's
is
gonna be more
unless they're-
feasible for them to move over here, for them to live over there and have to come do their job over here. Yes, you're right.
that's correct.
Okay.
I think there's a guy who wants to talk.
Oh, sure.
William Gilner, thank you for the opportunity to address you. I assume that each of you live in Aransas Pass, correct?
Yes.
If our town is good enough to work for, it's good enough to live in, and any of you that don't think that's a good idea, you're going to get challenged, okay? At your own peril. It's just common sense. If you want to make a time frame or give them some leeway, that's fine.
That's
But
it.
Yeah,
if
that's-
our town is good enough to work for, it's good enough to live in.
Well, I think that's what we're all said.
Yep.
what you said.
Saying the same thing.
It is what we said.
What, good argument.
It's different. We've lived here for a long time.
I was born and raised here. Been here 59 years.
I've been here since '88.
San Antonio has it. It's not against the law.
I agree with you, they do need to be here.
I agree.
Yeah, we're all
Yeah,
saying
we
that.
agree with
Yeah.
that.
We're
just
we're
trying
all
to figure
saying
out the
that.
timeframe. Next item.
Next.
The next one, we're
Thank
dealing
you.
again with administration, okay? This one here is also aimed at the city manager, where there's an amendment adding language that the city manager shall provide a written inventory of all real property and permanent equipment belonging to the city at the end of the fiscal year. And in reading that, I'm thinking, well, that's already done when the city goes out and does an audit. All that information is provided to the company or the firm that we hire to do an audit, and they've got to itemize all the property, all the land, the values and equipment. Also, all that's put into that inventory by way of an audit. So I'm thinking, I mean, to me, that there, and that's just my opinion, it's already covered, so I wouldn't recommend that to the council, because it's already been done. And you're gonna get a list, and the public will get a list of all that once
Mr. Isasi?
you go into public hearings and all that.
It's not being done. I asked the city manager for an audit, or for an inventory of a certain department. He said there was no inventory, that they didn't do inventories. That was the answer I was given.
When they do an audit,
We don't do audit, we haven't done an audit in I don't know how long, have we?
We do it every year.
Every year?
Yeah.
Well, he said the inventory was none, there was none.
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure
Brent,
that's included.
Brenda McElwee does our audit, and
Every year.
it is in the audit.
January.
Maybe Gary didn't know or something, but it
Well,
is in the audit.
Okay, I'm just telling you what I was told when I asked for one.
Yeah,
And if we
definitely do
need
an audit every
to
year.
separate those
January.
and list them on the
Every January,
website or
you'll hear
something,
her
that's
talking,
easily
and
done.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly
because
how-
Okay, I'm just telling you what I was told.
every city's required to do an end-of-the-year audit, or else we're gonna get in
Yes.
trouble.
We
right?
have an audit every single
Yeah.
year, and she presents that audit to the council every year.
Yes, every
And that
January.
information is included
Yes.
in that audit.
Okay,
Yes,
I was
sir.
lied to, is all I can tell
Financial and
you.
everything
sir.
else.
Now, the other amendment to this is that number 7, where it says, "He or she shall see that all laws and provisions of this charter and acts of the council subject to the enforcement by him or her, or by office subject to his or her direction and supervision are faithfully executed." To me, that's covered under 6 already, if you look at the language in number 6. But again, that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's just rewording 6.
Yeah,
I see
it's
what you
just
mean.
reworded
So
a
it
little
could
bit
be
different.
one or the other. It's just rewording 6. Next.
And again, I don't want to step on anybody's feet or anything like that. I wasn't here throughout this big old process, and I know you guys spend a lot of time and energy, 4 or 5 months working on this, maybe longer. I've looked at it maybe a month and a half, and I really appreciate it. It's a great work, and I've gone through it, discussed it with Mary and Candace, and I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you guys did. But now this is a process that we got to go through with the council, and let's see what the council decides on your.
I understand. I think the biggest issue on day one with the whole committee was, why are we sitting here doing this if it comes up and they can just not do anything that we've worked on? And so that, you will see, it's one of the, in one of the props for that to change. And so that's why when you weren't here, when we first brought it to the attention about that we had finished everything, we asked, just put everything to the voters. This is something we didn't just do even as a committee, it was put out to the public. We asked whoever wanted to come that was a voter, not voter, who cares, was welcome to join in and to give the suggestions. And so that's where everything came from. There was things that were put to motion that weren't even from our personal opinions. They were from citizens that said, hey, this is important to me.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. The next one is also dealing with the city manager, restricting that city manager from heading one or more departments except on temporary interim basis. So the changes are, I'm going to read it as it states, 2 or more departments may be headed by the same individual. The city manager may not head 1 or more departments except on a temporary interim basis. Okay. I mean, and keep in mind, this is the individual that we want to bring in here within 6 months to do what the council is going to hire him to do. And the city manager is the key figure for the city. They're here 24/7. They run the city. They work under your direction. And many times they're going to know something even before you know. You're going to call them and say, what's up? What's going on? Right? They should be in charge of these departments. You've got Parks Recreation, you got water, utilities, whatever other, maybe the chamber. But by doing this, you're going to limit that person to head one department. And now, who's going to head the other departments? Is council now going to create other supervisory positions to cover those departments? That's something y'all need to consider when it's already being done, and it's being done efficiently. So, I mean, I don't see.
So like right there, what you're talking about is that the public works, which is David, should only be in charge of one thing, not be in charge of the streets, the infrastructure,
Well,
or anything like that?
No, it
No,
says.
they're
it
just
says-
talking about the city manager.
It just says that
I understand.
2 or more departments may
No.
be headed by the same individual. So
I
in
think
this-
they ought to hurry up and get somebody that can do their job instead of him trying to manage everybody else like that and do their job. Yes.
Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
What it says here?
Yes.
That, anyone else other than the city manager may not head 2 departments. That's pretty much what it's saying, except on temporary or interim basis. Okay.
I think it means that city manager runs everything, but if the public works director is unavailable, then it's not saying that the city manager can't go over there and run that department, and the city also take charge of that
Only for
on
a
an
while.
interim basis only.
But only for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes.
That's what that's saying.
It is.
Okay.
We don't want the city manager doing the job of the public works guy.
No, not permanently.
No,
No.
no.
So that
Those
would
spots
be
need to be
right.
filled out pretty quick.
Do what?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
just so I understand this correctly, what the purpose of this is that, not saying that the city manager is going to supervise those department heads.
Oh, no, we know he's overhead everybody.
Okay.
It was to say that, like, what Ray was saying, if, say, David, for whatever reason, quits, or there's an opening in the director of Public Works, we don't want the city manager to be running, as a city manager position
Okay.
and the director of Public Works, because it's already such a big job as a city manager. But that's all it was. Like we were saying, it would be just for whatever that small period of time is,
So
and
sort
get
of
someone in
like-
there.
like-
We just don't want them running two departments. We want them just to be the city manager, not the city manager plus
City
director
manager ain't
of
got time
blah,
to
blah,
be doing
blah.
everybody else's job like that.
Yeah, do what?
City manager does not have time to be doing a public works
Exactly,
guy.
that was the point, was to make sure that it was in there, that they just had that position, city manager. Because they don't, that's a big enough job. That's what it was for.
Yes.
But as far as them reporting, I guess the hierarchy structure, they would still report to the city manager, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just.
You can be their boss, but you
Yes,
can't
it
be
was just
the
so
leader
that
of
the city
him.
manager wasn't spread so thin.
Okay,
We didn't want them spread thin and then, or in a position where all of a sudden they're running 3-4 departments and nothing's getting done because they're
perfect.
spread too thin.
then that's a good one there. I mean, I would suggest that one. This other one, dealing with term limits, of course, I see this, I think Robstown just went to term limits here, this past election here in May, and it got approved. It's similar to this, term limits. If the changes are made here, then it would read, each council member and the mayor shall be eligible for a maximum of 3 full consecutive terms. Was it
Yeah,
3
we
terms
let the
or
voters
6
decide
years?
that one.
Okay.
Most definitely.
So if a council member or the mayor serves 3 consecutive full terms, they are ineligible to run for city council or mayor of the city of Aransas Pass for 2 years. So you gotta wait 2 years. Sort of like what, I think this is what Mark Scott did in Corpus. He termed out, so he
think
had to sit out
Rockport
for
is
2 years and
terms.
then he ran again. Yeah,
Yeah. I think Rockport is 2 terms.
okay. So this paragraph being adopted by the voters on May 3rd, 2025, any portion of the term of office served by a council member or the mayor prior to May 4th, 2024 shall be counted as the first term or under the terms contained in this paragraph, right? So in other words, any time that you have under your bill right now would count towards this term limit, okay? And any partial term served by any member of the council or the mayor as a result of an appointment to fill a vacancy shall not count towards the term in this paragraph. So I think that wouldn't be applicable here because everybody's ran and got elected, correct? They weren't appointed, okay? So, I mean, like I say, that this is something that I think even the state legislature decided. At one point, we were tinkering with the idea, but it never passed. It didn't go through. As far as term limits, but I know cities have done that. Just again, recently, Robstown was the last one who did that, and the voters approved it. Now, let's see the next one. The selection process for a member to serve as mayor pro tem. Okay. Let's see. It shall read, the council at its first meeting after swearing in council members following each regular city election shall elect one of their members as mayor pro tem, and he or she shall perform all the duties of the mayor in the absence or disability of the mayor. And this is the language that would be added in there. The member of council so elected shall serve as mayor pro tem until the next regular city election, and thereafter until the subsequent mayor pro tem is elected, but may not serve consecutive terms. In the absence of disability or both, the mayor and the mayor pro tem, the most senior council member shall serve as a presiding officer. So this just kind of putting like a term limit also on the mayor pro tem, that position would only be on a yearly basis, right after the newly elected officials get sworn in at his first regular meeting. Then the council will decide who the next mayor pro tem will be, and that person cannot be selected or appointed by the council as mayor pro tem for 2 consecutive years. Okay, in other words, it can be
Every year it's gotta be a new pro
yeah,
tem person.
yeah, every year. Now, he can skip 1 year and be appointed the next year, there's something like that, but it can't be, the way it's written, it can't be 2 consecutive terms. Understand?
I got my opinion,
that,
we'll
Diego?
leave it
Yes,
like
the
that.
reason
So
for
let
that
the-
was so that it
let
gave
them vote
every
about it.
councilman an opportunity to kind of serve as, if they needed pro tem and or as mayor, so then they knew either what those responsibilities were, or if that was even something, if they later wanted to run for that position, they have a little bit of an idea of what that responsibility would be, and it just kept it rotating. And so, but yeah, they can skip 1 year, and then the next, if they're up there for, every other year, they can do it even, or if one person just.
I like to see that one.
They also have to be, whoever is mayor pro tem also has to be available at all times during the day and night for any
That-
meetings
because
that
there's
come
more
up
to the
all day
story.
long. Meetings in other towns,
You know,
meetings.
I've been in,
That's kinda like,
I've represented cities before where no one wanted to serve as mayor pro tem, except this one person every year got appointed. So what's gonna happen in this case if no one steps up? It might not be this council, but I'm just saying in the future. Let's say in the future, you've got one person serving mayor pro tem this term, but the following term, they can't serve, but none of the other three wanna take on the position because they don't have the time or whatever
see, 'cause
reason.
I think
then-
right now, correct me if I'm wrong, the way we've been doing it is the council chooses who's gonna be the mayor pro tem, not necessarily the mayor saying, hey, you're gonna be the pro tem. It was a consensus with the council members as far as.
It's a vote.
What they used to do, it was a custom since the 50s here.
Yeah.
Don probably knows it.
Yeah.
At every election, whatever council member got the most votes in that election, they got the opportunity to
So
take.
that's how
their
you
vote.
changed every year.
That's what they used to do, and somewhere, probably 10 years ago, that got lost in the weeds somewhere.
after Gary got here.
But that's the way, is that the way that it's written in the charter or no?
No, that was just a custom that they used to do forever.
It's
So-
just a traditional thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it never got put in there like that, but it just never did.
Okay.
It's just
I
how
mean,
it-
That's a
that
good
might
one.
be,
Yeah.
That'll actually change, automatically will change it every year.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
But-
because the, I'm gonna say like this, it's like, she's mayor pro tem, right? But the next election, she's not up for election, so she doesn't have any votes. So the one that's gonna be the new pro tem is the one that's got the most elections in that vote year.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what they're saying.
so maybe
It's same difference.
modifying the language to reflect that. Take your
That's
suggestion.
up to- That's up to the
But that's the way it would have to be written, and that way automatically it's changed every year.
I mean, that could be added.
Would you
I
be
mean, that would
okay
the
with
same
that,
thing. It would be
Matt?
the same
Or same
thing.
thing?
It would be the same
It's-
thing. It
it's
could
pretty
go to
much-
whoever has the,
It's
during
the
the
same
election,
thing.
whoever has the highest votes. If that's, I know that's what, we discussed that in the meeting and I think for whatever reason, Donald, what was, the reason we just put it this way was for simplicity more than it was.
Would you
Okay.
want
Yeah,
to
but
work
that's-
something like that?
I mean, it's still changing every time. It was mostly, that was like even adding in there that if, say the mayor and the pro tem were gone, we wanted to make sure that that it went to senior council, like just that there was a little bit more order, just in cases.
Yeah, because as of right now, it's up to the city council to actually say who's gonna be the mayor pro tem versus you automatically
This is just kind
change
of
it every
given.
year.
It just made it like, but yeah.
So you would rather go to that instead of the way that we've been doing it, let the council,
It's actually, if you
Choose.
do it like that, it's more fair, there's no argument, like this one got the most
Gives
votes,
everyone a
so
little bit of that
you don't
responsibility.
automatically get it. They say
The way,
you
the way,
want it.
the way you're saying it, most definitely,
Yeah.
you will not have the same mayor pro tem every year.
No, you
Right.
won't.
correct,
You won't?
correct. And the only thing I've got to say about that, I have enjoyed and taken my position very highly every year that I've been mayor pro tem. And the phone calls and the meetings that are during the day and at night and out of town, it's a high responsibility that whoever is in that position has to be able to, if
Leave
Mary
work.
calls and says, hey, we've got a meeting, Mayor can't be there, I've got to drop what I'm doing. I can't be in Corpus or Beeville or somewhere else working. I've got to, I run and go
There's
and
both
do
two ways
that,
of
so.
looking at it.
That's true.
So whoever takes that
Okay.
position, they have to understand that they gotta be able to drop and go.
So are we amending this, or?
Right now, y'all just considering, and,
Okay.
We're
there's
just
gonna be a
talking about it.
proposed- I guess you
Still
can make
just
that
talking
change
about it.
I mean,
on that?
We'll have that conversation later.
Okay.
I
Right
don't know
now,
how
we're
you-
just
Well,
talking
it
about.
just depends on what the council
I don't
wants.
think that we can make any changes because we were on a deadline, so I don't think I can make any changes. I can
Y'all
just
can
tell y'all
recommend
where
it.
the board was coming
Yeah.
from. I think that
Yeah.
if you leave it like this, it still says the same, because it would, and then if you just, whoever's up there kind of knows, okay, whoever gets the highest ones, that's who we're gonna,
Yeah, we
it's gonna be, it's gonna be a different person every time.
Worried, you could just bring that customer back, hey, you got the most votes you wanted, say no.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are gonna discuss
Well,
it, or
yeah, the
whoever's
same
up there
difference
is
is the
gonna
way
discuss
it's
it. I
being
mean,
said.
Yeah.
It accomplishes the same thing at the end of the
It's
day.
accomplishing the same thing.
Okay, next.
So the next one's dealing with video recordings on its website. As it is right now, the council meetings are posted, not only pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, but they're also being posted by website to comply with the new regulations. But there's language in here adding that this was being added to the section 10 dealing with meetings, is that all meetings of the city council that are subject to the Open Meetings Act shall be video recorded, which we're doing, with such video records made available to the public to the city's website or another publicly accessible website. Okay.
We do that.
That's being done already, and that's a statute, okay? And the statute actually says if the city owns or operates a website, then we're required to utilize it and post.
Yep, 'cause this is not an amendment to the charter, this is just adding something to it.
This is adding stuff.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think they're also talking about like planning and zoning meetings, because they have to follow the Open Meetings Act also.
okay, well, I'm just thinking.
Well, that's
about
not
it.
stated.
But this amendment just says city council.
City council.
Yeah. See,
Just
that's
says
what I was
city
looking at,
council.
it's just the council.
Yep.
Now, now the planning and zoning, all those, that can be accomplished by an ordinance.
Yeah.
We can do an
Exactly.
ordinance and include that.
Yeah, but I'm okay with video and all
That was what the
of
consensus
it.
was, but, it ended
We've
up
been
going
doing
to
it.
just council because we were afraid,
I think that's more for people
they
that
had to
can't do
have
it.
IT on everything for the cost, and so that's
But
why it was
workshops
just
are
on the city,
different.
but right
You
now,
don't
the
act on
city
anything.
workshops, I know today is being shown, but typically they aren't.
Yeah.
And then sometimes special meetings aren't, and
To
so
me,
that
we
was the big
video
concern,
every,
was
every
anything
one of them, that's
they
how
really-
everybody knows.
Really, everyone wanted
Yeah, I
all
mean,
of
it's
them.
not so hardcore.
Because any committee that's formed by the council to do city
become
work,
very
in other words, you
oblivious
guys
to
will
that,
be our
right?
eyes and ears
Right.
and report back to us.
But please,
You're
stop,
under the
people
umbrella
need
of
to
the
stop
city,
lying
so any
about
cost for those live
That's all I'm
streams,
saying.
the city's gonna take care of that.
They don't.
Right,
they
so that
need
was
to
why
stop
it went
that.
to just city council as opposed to
Yeah,
all
this
of
is
the
like the
first
jam
we talked
getting
about
blasted on
all of the
Facebook
meetings,
over
we were like,
stupid
well, there's
chick.
a lot of boards.
Bitch didn't
What would
even
that
come on.
entail? And then we talked about P and Z, and then it became, well, at some point P and Z then comes to the.
Should've
the
never
meetings
said
here.
that, but
And
it's
so
too late.
This was going to be for all city council meetings, so that there's a lot of people that don't get home late, and they wanna know what's going on in the city.
Mr. Mayor, Council. So when this came up, I had originally heard that it was all meetings. So I started doing research and had Ethan help me do research and get statistics, because I thought it was going to be all meetings. We have, between 10 and 15 boards that are put together here, and it would have been cost prohibitive. We would have had to basically hire another employee to cover it, or start paying a tremendous amount of overtime or flex time or something. The return on your investment isn't wonderful. We have, last time I checked this meeting, we have 10 viewers. Are we going to pay $40,000 or $50,000 a year for the same 10 people? The city council meetings, we generally have 17 to 21, 25, and some of those are from New Zealand, Canada.
During the meeting,
Entertainment.
correct? Not at the end.
Yeah.
Because if you go with them now, they're like-
It's for their entertainment value.
Boy,
But live
you
is
want to
what
get
we're-
known?
Yeah,
Live, you want to get known as a
Yeah.
council member or mayor? Just
So-
look at our YouTube or whatever, you'll see.
So, and the other phraseology that I want to make sure is clear is that we don't host these on the website, on our city website. We host them on YouTube, and we put a link to YouTube. So they are hosted on YouTube. It would also be cost prohibitive to,
tapping me on the shoulder.
Hold on, get a point of.
Yes, thank you.
it would also be cost prohibitive to host the videos actually on our website. And that's one of the reasons why we use YouTube, because it's free. And it's, everybody with a cell phone, I have mine on me. Everyone with a cell phone has pretty much, if it's a smartphone, it's got YouTube already on it, comes with it. And it's the reason why we chose that, because it was sort of an industry standard. And whereas Facebook, you have to have an account to watch video, I think. So YouTube, you can just go watch it. So it's the reason why we chose that. I want to make sure that there's not a legal clarification that needs to be made on that. Other than that, I've been here for 13 years. I'm the one that started the live streaming of the council meetings. I've been to a couple of these over 13 years, and the people appreciate it. It's nice. It's wonderful to go back to it and to verify something that was said or done. And I know Ms. Juarez has utilized that in the past, and so has Ms. Garrett. So it's very useful. It's very handy. I know the other meetings are required to do audio recordings and take minutes. And remember, at the end of the day, people who really want to be involved in our civic responsibilities are going to show up just like these people showed up. I know it's during the middle of the day, but people show up to the meetings. If it's important, they show up. That's my 2 cents. We are currently in compliance, I think, with what's going on, if I understand it correctly. If we want to add the other committee members, committee meetings and boards, thank you for taking us into consideration. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it a lot because we were like.
Because I had a literal panic attack.
No. Oh, I wish you would have just talked to us. We would have said, don't even stress. Don't even research. You don't need to.
I stressed about this for about 2 days.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's what I do. So,
No,
but I just wanted
we
to,
definitely took that into consideration.
if we get to that point, we're going to have to make some changes in
We
how
felt your
things are
tears.
structured. Thank you.
So, Mr. Isasi, what you're saying is this is something that's already being done? So do we need this wordage
We're already
in
doing
the
this.
charter, or is it more of a
I think we can
ordinance
accomplish
type?
this by an ordinance to include other,
Yeah, because
I
this
guess
is already
committees.
being done.
yeah.
But it's not on the workshop. I mean, today it is, but not all the workshops are. So that's what
No,
the whole
correct.
thing-
This one is, but not everyone, you're correct.
Right, so those are the special meetings. It's for all council meetings so that they can be watched.
Workshops and everything.
Right, workshops and everything, because there's a lot that happens, like today, there's a lot that happens in meetings and discussion, where once it comes to you to vote on, people are lost because they don't really know the backstory.
Yeah, because this is not
You
gonna.
don't get it out of the
we're-
minutes.
It's not to create an expense for the city
That-
either.
Let me just add, we're working on bringing some council policies, probably sometime in January to the council, and this is one of them that we included, is that all meetings of the council be live streamed. And it could be
I'm okay with that.
accomplished that way as well.
In an ordinance?
And an ordinance.
That's one of the items that we wanted to add in the council policies.
That way, no?
Okay. Next.
Next.
Thank you.
Well, this
Yeah,
other
about
one
30
is
minutes.
geared, this other one's geared at the city council, and what's required of passing a resolution or an ordinance or taking a vote. And it's under section 11, rules of procedure, where it says, the council shall determine its own rules of procedure and may compel the attendance of its members. 3 members of the council shall constitute a quorum to do business, and the affirmative vote of a majority, and this is what's included now, it used to say a majority, but now it says a majority of members present and voting, which makes it a lot clearer, because if we just say majority, well, we know what the majority is, but let's say one isn't here, then we have a different majority now, right? So this way, it's making it clear that it's a majority of the members that are present and voting. So that's good language to cover in there. And then the next one's dealing with a publication, the procedures for passage of ordinance. This section here deals with the process of posting and I think public hearings dealing with ordinances, the hearings you're supposed to have, publishing in a newspaper, how often do you publish it? But then at the end, it's adding language where it deleted, because it says once every ordinance shall be authenticated by the signature of the mayor and city secretary and shall be systematically recorded, and before it was recorded and indexed in an ordinance book, right? Well, that's being deleted, that language is being deleted, where it says and indexed in an ordinance book, and it shall only be necessary to record the caption of or title of ordinance in the minutes of it or journal of the city council. And this is a new language. All ordinances requiring publication hereunder and all other documents required by law to be published in the official newspaper of the city shall also be published on the city's website or another publicly accessible website with copy of the city secretary's office or codes not available on online platform. Some cities already do that. I know we do that in Odom and George West, where once the council has approved an ordinance, we've gone through all the procedures. In our website, we post that ordinance so that people can see it, and it's up there. And not only that, but we send it off to get it codified in the code of index. There's a muni code, that's what it's called. I don't know if we're members of that. Muni code? Okay. So, and what you do after you pass an ordinance, you always forward those to Muni code. That way they're always updating their code for the city.
Let me just add, currently the way the charter reads is the only ordinances that we're required to publish is those ordinances that have a fee attached to it. Those are the only ordinances we're required to publish.
Okay.
So what the committee is saying is that those ordinances that we publish that have a fee attached to it are the ones that y'all want, I guess, posted on the city's website?
I think that when the whole committee was waiting was really any changes would be posted on the website. It was more about that, the way all the wording is, it's always been newspaper. It was like, whatever's being required to put out there, or if there are changes, just put it on the website.
Is it,
Like,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
Is it acceptable to have a link to Unicode on our website?
Oh, yeah, and then once it goes to Unicode, it can come off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's if y'all are gonna be, well, like these, they would go on there as a call, you know what I mean? Or we're gonna vote or whatever, and then once it goes on, it'll be on there, and then once it goes into the charter, then it's in the charter.
So,
It can
so
come
we have
off.
a thing called Newsflash, and it runs for about
Yeah, once it goes on.
It would point to Unicode saying, here's the new stuff, that's acceptable.
Right, correct. It was more to just update, for one, and then two was just really for transparency, we're just putting everything on the website. And I know Brenda's been working on our website forever, has been really difficult to navigate, and to look something up. Like, a document wouldn't necessarily be called what it was, you know what I mean? You could just look up, I don't even know right offhand, but like if you were gonna look up, I think it was like the standards manual, you wouldn't look up standards manual, it didn't come up that way, it was under some other name. Where now, you know what I mean, I think it's getting closer to where you can find those things.
Well, I'm just saying that the way it's worded, it says all ordinances requiring publication. And what I'm saying, the only
Oh, that was
ordinance.
just anything that was told that y'all had to put to the newspaper, whatever it would be, whether.
And that, and what I'm saying is, the only ordinances that are required to be published are only the ones that have a fee attached to it.
Okay, and then.
And we are posting everything else to the website, like the RFPs, all the bids, that's already currently being
And
done.
a lot of this was like, when we started, a lot were going on Brenda and Candace's time here. So I know that y'all worked a lot on the website, but it was really just to kind of, okay, if you're gonna put it in the newspaper, put it on the website, kind of thing. Or if that was a requirement.
Okay.
Or if it's something you're supposed to post at the door, put it on the website.
But from what I'm understanding, it's not required to post everything, so it's just a matter now of preference, whether council wants to go that route or keep it the way it is. I mean, it's being posted already, ordinances that
They're already
need to be
posted.
required.
They're already
This specific
updated
thing
to.
is just for ordinances, but as an overall, that was, I think it comes up again on different things.
Yeah,
And
they're,
it's on the website. and-
what I was gonna say, they're already updated to the Muni code, and we already have a link. Anytime we amend the code, there's always, it imposes a fee, so that's already updated in Muni code, and that's already posted on the city's website.
There we go.
I think there's a link there.
A lot of stuff is already posted.
Are there muni codes that are brought up or passed that don't require a fee?
There are some ordinances that the council passes that don't impose a fee, yes, sir, like the zoning ordinances, those don't impose a fee.
Yeah, should
Or
those be,
rezone.
should those be posted so people know?
Well, as the way this amendment reads, no, they will not be posted. But
But you can
I'm-
simply ask that of me and I can do it. It doesn't have to go to ballot.
As a
If you want the ordinance,
Department's
that's
already-
privy to the council. If you want the ordinance on the website, I can start putting them on the website.
I think Brenda just said they're already doing that.
For her department. For her department.
Oh, what you do, okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Now, the other one, I think I'm gonna lean on him right here a little bit to kind of help me through this one. Because this was dealing with administration, and there's several items here talking about department heads and city secretary, municipal court, city attorney, bonds. And I guess the idea is to kind of consolidate on that into one section of the charter.
Some of what, let me just look at it real quick. Some of what is struck out, honestly, was more not the board saying, oh, we want this out. It was Thomas saying, we don't need all this in there because, oh, he was moving this. That's what it is. This section, I believe, was being moved to another section. Do y'all, Carol, do you remember that?
Right.
Or,
So basically, all this information's already in the charter, but he's just
it
trying
was,
to
yeah, it
move it
was
around.
moved to a different, under a different header, a different section, I believe. Yeah.
I think that's just
Yeah,
gonna be
because
way
it
too
was-
much. I mean, if it's already in
That's what it
if
was,
it's already in there,
Yeah.
why, it's already in there. There's no dispute as to the language. It's just trying to
I think so.
move it here, take it from here and put it over here.
Yeah, I think it was just moved
And
to a different.
I would just leave it the way it is right now. If it's already in there, and it's
Well,
just a
the-
matter of moving it around.
Well, the one change is city managers marked out and administration
Yeah, and
is
I don't
put
know
on
No,
what
there,
if you
that
go to the
so.
next section, it's all there. So, well, look, if you go to the next section, then it says, it's the way it's phrased. You'll
Yeah.
see it's all bold. So it's just moved to administration instead of being under the council and everything separate. I'm not sure. Yes.
I think it moves it from powers of the city to administration, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Some of the stuff was just moved around to different sections, and some of it, I believe, was because it was repetitive. Yes, you'll see when you go further, when we get further in, some of those that's crossed out is just moved to a different section.
So all of this here under Article 6 is all underlined in bold, so that's all new text.
Right.
Which prior, Article 6 would have been city manager, now it's changing to the administration.
Which
Which
is
is, what's the
who?
definition?
Yeah, which is who?
Well, it's got city secretary, municipal court, city attorney, official
official bonds and city
I don't see
manager,
nothing
city
different.
secretary, financial officer, official bond for other officers and employees, and then it talks about the audit and examination.
It looks like they're moving certain sections from the council, which is under Article 3.
Yeah.
The council, they're moving these from that section to.
To administration.
Article 6, administration,
Yeah,
moving those there.
it's all worded the same, it's just moving,
It just was taken
moving
out
it.
from under council and moved to administration.
Yeah.
I would
It's
just,
just a retitlement, it's just changed.
Who's the
It's all the
administration?
same- I believe all the same wording.
if it's already covered, I mean, why, there's no issues with the language or with what's there.
Who's the administration?
You pretty
The
much said it.
administration,
Yeah, it's like the city, city
city
secretary.
secretary, city manager.
So,
And it's,
this
yeah,
one
it just
definitely
changes
needs
it
to
from,
get
it's
out.
just basically changing, instead of striking it out, you really should just struck out the title, and changed it.
And it's important to have titles, because when you say administration, then, okay, who are we talking about? Are we talking about city manager, city secretary, or, you know,
Well, it says
head of the
administration, then
department or
under
whatever,
sections, it says
but-
each title.
He's administration.
Whereas before it said, it was just under the council, and he was, saying that like city secretaries shouldn't be under the council, that would be under administration.
But I am under the council.
But yes,
But, yeah,
she is.
Well,
yeah.
and so is.
So is municipal court.
So is
also
municipal
the
court.
attorney.
I mean,
Yeah,
because
I think
you want to
everything
consider your
it was his
hierarchy structure
verbatim.
and
Some of it we took
Yeah.
kind of follow
for
it.
granted that he was the attorney and had done this, and he said this is how it should be, and we said, that sounds great.
Yeah.
But we trust your judgment, and that's what you get paid for.
So, in other words, this is already there, so it
Yeah.
really doesn't need to be changed.
Right.
Okay.
It's already included, all that, all
Okay.
It
that.
was
is
just
in
part
there.
of the cleanup, I guess, and what, that would have been Thomas's personal preference, would be my guess, like, of what he's done on charters, that's how he cleaned it up.
Okay.
I don't think for any of us on the board care how it's
Laughing at
stated,
that.
as long as it's stated.
Okay. So the next one here is dealing with signatures on a recall petition. So right now, recall petitions, according to our charter, section 13, it says must be signed, let's see, by voters of the city equal in amount to 50% of the total number of votes cast in the last regular election, or 250, or 500, okay?
Yeah.
So it's 50% or 500 of the number of votes cast in the last regular election. But it's being proposed that that be
50% of
dropped
the
to
voters.
25% or
Absolutely.
250.
It's 50%, 500, or whatever is greater.
Yeah.
That's worded.
To me, there's.
That needs
there's
to
how
stay
many voters here?
50.
7,000?
50%.
Huh?
7,000 voters? Registered voters?
No, registered voters, there's only like 3,500,
It's
right?
like 5,200.
5,000 something.
Oh, 5,000?
Yeah.
52.
I knew it was up
Well,
there
So
somewhere.
5,000 people voted, you have to get 2,500 of them.
Well, unfortunately, we don't get 5,000
No,
people voting.
I'm
I
close.
thi- I
We
think
didn't get
500
1,000
I think
people.
500 votes is pretty good.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you're
it
actually
is.
doing bad,
Yeah, I
you
know.
don't get 500 votes.
500, you're doing good.
But it not, that way to keep any person just to say, hey.
Well, that's the problem.
I've already been trying to get recalled, what, 3 times, 3, 4 times?
3 times.
That's why there's only been, how many recalls have been here? Two.
When was that? Last week?
Ever in the history of town, because
And so.
worded it like that, so somebody could recall somebody in 5
I'm just
minutes.
curious how many votes they got, or how many signatures they got this last recall.
10.
And so.
30?
Looked at the communities around us, went with.
Was that the one that for you?
A higher percentage.
Yeah.
at what most
So
people
30
were
people don't
to
like
us.
you?
And felt like this was fair, and still.
I didn't get a chance to sign it, Ram, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It still took effort from somebody's part if they wanted signatures, but it didn't.
I'm ready to go.
You know what I mean? Voted, and
See,
then that was the purpose of that, and then looking back, why that all got changed.
I don't think that would be politically correct for me to sign one of those. Do you?
So that's
So,
a
yeah,
preference.
so we have my preference is, yeah, no, it should not change.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
That's what we have to now, but in other cities, it's like, that's what they don't want it because people
Now, this one here, and I'm surprised, the next one hadn't been on there before, but requiring all bonds over the amount of $8 million to be approved by voters. You know, of course, when you're gonna go out for bonds like that, you know, the city council's gonna have to go out and hire bond counsel to get you through all this process. But certainly, that needs to go to the voters to see if they're willing to authorize something like that. But that's my opinion.
I agree with that.
That's a lot of money.
Next.
Okay. Now, again, and then the next one is dealing with the inventory, requiring the finance director to maintain, and this again goes back to the audit, because again, this is, and I'm looking at number 11, where it says, the finance director shall maintain an inventory of all fixed assets and capitalized equipment, including the date of purchase, location, purpose, and the name of employee responsible. So this information, again, goes into the audit, and you guys are going to have it, the public's going to have it. They'll be able to see that. I mean, it's just transparency.
It is being done.
But,
Who told you that in the meeting?
But it puzzles me because in order for an auditor to do an excellent job in trying to get the best numbers for the city and the best, and by doing that, they're trying to get you bond ratings and grant ratings.
Yeah.
And the better your numbers, the better off you're gonna be.
I can speak for my department, we do that, we have.
And we were told that there were some departments that had it, some, but that what was those, obviously there were certain, subjects that were more important for some people than others, and they were pushed, was that, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the issues, they wanted to know, like, they wanted to be an inventory account of like every, basically desk, computer, chair, when was it like if we need whatever it was, like they wanted there to be a full inventory of that, and then if something was to break, like a laptop or whatever, they know, okay, well, it was this laptop, or, well, yeah, it was already 3 years old, that makes sense, or this is why we bought it, and that, and who had it, and, well, you know what I mean? And we were told, I can't remember, do y'all remember who, when we were having that discussion, who said that it was not being done, and that's why, otherwise we wouldn't have needed to do it?
I remember the discussion, I don't know.
So not every item is a capital item, is that?
That's
Correct.
correct.
Not
So
every
I
item
would-
is a capital.
I would inventory a laptop and a computer, but not a
Like,
keyboard.
right.
Not a keyboard and mouse.
No.
Right.
So it's.
So, yeah, and I get like, and it wasn't gonna be like, oh, where they're getting nitty gritty.
Yeah,
But I
that's
know
what they're
some
talking
people like
about.
that, but then some others was about, yeah, about all of our equipment.
How many
what kind of
staples you have?
condition it's in, if it is broken, where is it parked, where is it, like,
I
that
think
kind of
that's up
stuff.
to-
It wasn't just all.
Aaron,
So,
you guys maintain an inventory?
do y'all,
For the capital items, like Jeff was mentioning, yes, absolutely. Not for, like he mentioned, like the mouse and keyboard, no, but.
Pens and pencils and all that.
Equipment, anything on the serve, all those things.
He's gonna be making somebody count all the bullets now.
desktop computers, laptops, equipment that
Because
Public Works has, all of that.
Any city property,
We should have.
and let's say,
It's
like
all
police
in.
equipment, you got vehicles that are no longer being utilized. The police department can't just go out and sell them. They gotta bring them before the council and, what's that word? You surplus them? or-
I know, I know.
In other words, get permission from the council to be able to either put them up at auction or whatever. So you'll know what equipment's being put out for auction or what's not working, things like that. But again.
Whoever mentioned that in your meeting, if they were not an employee with the, I was gonna say school district, with the city, then they probably had no idea what they were talking about.
Okay, did that just not go back to what I said a minute ago? Y'all said audit, I said inventory. This is it right here. This was the inventory that Edwards and I were talking about, said there wasn't an inventory. You guys said an audit a minute ago. Yeah, we were on another page. Now we're on this one. Edward said there was no
Yeah, and we
inventory.
were told the same thing, that there was, that's why, I mean,
We
we
should
actually had a
have an
lengthy
inventory of
discussion
items
about
that
it
we
because
have
there
to
Do what?
wasn't.
We better have the inventory of big
Basically-
items of all.
I'm just telling you what he said, ma'am, I don't
I'm even
know.
concerned about the orange cones.
The orange cones,
The
there's
cat,
only 3. Supposed to be 6.
okay, next, thank you.
Next.
So the next one is going back to the hot funds, where city council is being asked to amend by adding this language in there. Let's see, city council shall make final decisions regarding the distribution of hot funds to any entity which seeks to support tourism in the hotel and convention industry of the city. No more than 25% of the annual collections of hotel or hot funds shall be distributed to any one entity in a single year. Okay. One, I think this can be accomplished again by ordinance, if you choose to do that. And this goes back to the application process that Mary was talking about earlier. I think that should address, these concerns here as far as the process, having something in play as to how much the council is going to award these organizations. Considering you got the, was it the Civic Center? Or is it the Convention Center?
Yeah,
Civic
Civic
Center.
Center.
Yeah, because they're the ones that mostly will benefit from this, because they're the ones that are attracting the tourism, putting out the city to trying to attract new industry into the city. So I'm sure they're gonna get a bigger portion of the pie. But again, that's up to council.
They don't get any.
I don't think they get any.
I don't think they get any.
I
It's
think
a
you're talking
civic
about the
center, it's
chamber.
not a convention
Chamber.
center.
Okay.
talking about
Chamber gets
the
the most,
chamber.
chamber gets the
Chamber.
big
But-
chunk of it.
The chamber is the one that I don't know the amount, the percentage amount they get.
Do
70.
I believe it's 55%. I think it was amended.
It
It
was
used to be
amended.
a higher number, but
Yeah.
now I think it's either 50 or 55%.
Yeah,
It used to
it's a
be,
lot
I think,
lower now.
70.
Yeah, it used to be 70.
It used to be 70, and now it's gone down to either 50 or 55%.
55 of them.
55.
But our
I think it's
chamber
55.
is our main,
Now, there's
That's
two,
the main-
is it
main-
chamber or visiting center?
yeah, there is two.
It's two.
That's right, it's two
in-
different
it's
entities.
2 in 1.
It's the chamber and the convention,
In-
Visiting center.
visiting center, yes.
There's 2 different ones.
But anyway, yeah, I agree with you there. That could be done in an ordinance as
So
well.
in this wording, can you define entity? It says any entity, what does that mean?
I guess any organization, to me, entity would be an
Applicant.
organization that falls within, I think Mary said there's like three types of organizations that would benefit and could fall under the hot funds. So first of all, under that application process, we screen them, make sure that they do fall within one of those 3, and then we can go forward with the rest of the application.
So if, I guess Elise, if this got passed, let's say one of these groups needed some more, could they do the application process and come in front of the council and request more
I
funding?
would imagine, especially if it's for something that's specific, I think it's more, this was for just a general, quarterly hot tax, like putting a percentage that it was, the main thing was that they didn't want more than 25% per entity, so that, it could
Yeah.
be a little more diverse. And now, if that means like for the quarterly, you can only take 25% that goes to chamber, 25% to whoever, or whatever, then if there's something else and there's an event going on, I don't see why they couldn't come and say it's specifically for this. There's a little more checks and balance for it, for the money and where it's going and how it's being spent.
I see that as kind
There is
of
checks.
regulating it a little more that way.
Yeah,
I get
but
that.
I
So
do know
this
that-
money, where does it come from originally? It's hotel, right?
Yeah.
And it's whoever puts people, heads in beds is actually
Yeah.
what they said.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still the city of Aransas
Yes.
passes
Oh,
money.
yeah,
It's no one
yeah,
else's.
no.
Yes,
Definitely.
and you literally have to advertise.
But by
the
law, it
city.
has to be used only
that.
for certain things.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, it's like the Chamber of Commerce, it literally promotes the city of Aransas Pass. They actually go to Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and they have a booth to where their advertisement Aransas Pass. And they do bring a lot of tourism here into town. The shrimperia alone brings quite a bit of heads in bed because they hang around here for a while. and there's different events that they host. But the bottom line is like the billboards, when you're coming from San Antonio, the billboards coming from Houston, the ones coming from Dallas, and from everywhere, and it's actually a sign that's promoting the city of Aransas Pass.
You know, and it's not just the tourism. I mean, because of the connections that they have, they also get grants for the city.
Yeah.
Most recently, you know, the city got over 300,000 for those improvements that we're going to be doing over at Lighthouse Lake. So it's not just the tourism that they do for the city. I mean, that's just one of the grants. There's other grants that they have secured for the city of Aransas Pass.
Yes, that particular one was what, 350,000?
Something like that.
We got 125 from Chenier and 225 from the Port of
From the
Corpus
port,
Christi.
yes, sir.
So I don't. Okay, so this is, the city shall make final decisions regarding the distribution of hot tax funds. Okay, we already do that. To any applicant which seeks to support tourism and hotel convention industry in the city. Okay, that's already being done. That's always been done. But I don't understand the percentage. No more than 25% of the annual collection of hot funds shall be distributed to any one entity in a year.
So
Which
let's
is the
say
one that
if
brings
we
the most
collect in
heads
one
and
year
heads.
90%, so I mean 90,000. So you're saying no more than 25% of the 90,000?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if y'all are saying, if you're saying chamber's one thing and visitor center's another, well, there's your 50% right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's really for more the checks and balances. This was not one of my, hardcores, so I don't know all the complete details of what was going through, why exactly, except for there was more for checks and balances, making sure how it was getting spent, because, it seems as though the money has stayed the same pretty much for years that was coming in, and they're wanting it to be more, and finding ways to do that, and, it wasn't, that was just what we all came up with of like, okay, well then, it was presented, well, how do we?
I think the money stays the same because very few applicants ask for
That's why-
any
that's
funds.
why we have that much
Concern was
money.
People didn't know,
No.
like, Mary, we were talking about having this come up where,
Yeah, 'cause-
they're gonna have a system, or other people did not know that they were even, there was an option for them to even
Right.
apply.
That's
And
why
so-
we're gonna make up this new ordinance.
And
That's
I
why we're
think
gonna
that's
do
going
this.
to accomplish
So
this.
Because
it's
they're-
okay, well, then we need to start, even as a committee, letting people know, okay, if this goes through, people need to apply for it. If you're a nonprofit, apply for it. Or if you're doing an event for something, apply for it, because most didn't know that.
Right.
And that
Yes,
would
but just
also-
because you're a nonprofit organization doesn't necessarily mean you qualify for it.
No,
Correct.
I mean, well, I.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You literally have to put heads in bed to be
Oh,
able
yeah,
to
it's
qualify
just
for it.
going to follow what the hot tub
Yes.
says. And then there was, I know there was some members that were saying they didn't know if that's what was being done or not. That's not my fight, so I'm gonna leave it as, the board just felt like so much was going to one entity, they wanted to divide it up. There was a lot of, other organizations in town that could benefit. The same things could still be obtained, maybe through other organizations, and get the word out that this was available to them, because most people didn't know. I didn't know how any of this worked.
And I think
Because-
that new
because
ordinance.
Most of this comes from our hotels, so we're
Yeah.
not promoting and getting them the business.
Yeah.
If
No,
they
I think
go,
the
if
point
they
is
go
to get heads
under,
and bids and tourism and.
Yeah.
where are we gonna recoup that tax dollars from?
Correct.
I think this new ordinance that's going to come to council at the next meeting would probably address this.
Yeah,
I
ju-
think
just like,
that's
just like the
big thing is
representative
that-
from
that
the
there would be
hotel that
money
was in
left for other
during that meeting.
organizations.
Oh, I agree. I mean,
I mean, there's
it's,
a lot going to one, and, which is great, but if there's other organizations that could also be putting heads in beds, we wanted that to be available, and for people to know that, get it out there. I think everyone on the board agreed that was, how do we get these numbers up? That this is a tourist town,
Yeah.
how do we promote that kind of thing, and what do we
This-
do different to shake it up almost in a sense of like getting more income?
This is the way a couple of other cities that I've worked for handle the hot funds. I believe it's around March, February, March, that the council holds a meeting, and all these applicants will show up. Sometimes there's 5, 6 different organizations, and they all submit their request for a certain amount, right? 7,000, 10,000, 30,000, whatever it is that they want. And then they explain to the council how they're going to utilize those funds, right? And council always has a question, well, last year, how much did we end up awarding you last year? Well, last year I asked for 5 and I got 5, and I utilized all of it. So this year I expect a little bit more. So it's going to be a better year. So I'm asking for a little bit more. That's the process. But council before that decides, okay, this year this is what we have in reserves, and this is the new amount that we got in. So we want to keep in reserves a certain amount of money, right? So in order to accommodate these 6 groups, we want to make sure we don't give away more than 60% or 75%. So now you've got that number, and you have your reserve, and you're considering the amounts that the applicants are asking. So finance director, somebody's going to have to be doing the math pretty quickly to see when you guys make your motion and say, okay, we're going to award this person this amount and this other organization this amount, and make sure that it doesn't exceed the 75% that you all decided on. Right? But that could be done in the way of a meeting, and that's the way the other 2 cities that I handle that issue, and it's worked great in the past. There's never been a problem with that. Everyone gets what they want. They come back and they give a great report the following year as to how they expended their funds. Sometimes they say, well, we still have $2,500 in the bank, so we're asking for a little bit less because we still have $2,500 in the bank. So they kind of give you a rundown of how they spent their money and how it was utilized and how successful the project was.
Yeah, and I get what this is doing. This is to do that, put some more reserves, and hoping we'll get some brand-new events wanting to come to town.
Yes.
So I agree with
It's
that.
really to diversify it a little bit, get it out there, let people know, like, hey, let's
Yeah.
like this place and.
So if there's a reduction, who's gonna operate that visiting center? I mean, I don't know what the cost is on that.
On what, I'm sorry?
On the visiting center? Probably have to
Yeah,
find out.
we
I mean,
The
I think
visiting
they
center
can
and the
still come
chamber
and
are
say,
very
"We need this much
valuable to
money
this
for
city."
X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
They're just gonna have to say, well, we need, however, whatever, and I don't know what the number would be, if it adds up to 25%, whatever, but we need it and it's for X, Y, and Z, or we need it for this, this, and this. It's not just, well, here's 25%, run, go do whatever you want with it. And not saying that they're not doing
not
what they
whatever
should
you
with
want
it,
to
just
do.
saying, it just gives a little more credibility to it, and like I said, the main thing was that we weren't hearing of anyone else even knowing that hot taxes were available to them.
'Cause our
Well,
biggest
all of
grant
this is
writer-
all of this is
So,
being
isn't
done
it bully?
already.
For the visiting
I-
center as well.
I mean, I don't know, because y'all didn't know it was available. It is available. It's been available every year.
Right, but the
Every year.
community did not know that.
The community does know, well, some of them do, some of
But-
them don't.
Yeah, but the issue is that they do know, but they just don't qualify.
That's a lot of it. A lot of applicants come through that are not qualified.
That's why we have the $300,000 as it is right now, because we
why
have
there's
not
so much
had
in
enough.
reserve.
I'm confused on what, like, I don't understand why it matters if they're just having to tell you, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, why that's an issue. Like, at least you know as a council, like, okay, and then you go, okay, approved. That sounds great. Like, come on, let's bring the people in. Like, I don't
Can't see it,
understand,
no.
that doesn't seem that difficult.
I'm confused on what you're
Confused
saying. I don't know, understand what you're
If-
saying.
As opposed to just saying, here's a lump sum of money, run free and go do it, if a
Don't they have to have
organization
accountability
comes in
for it?
front of you,
happen.
they come in front of you
They have
and they say,
accountability for
hey,
it.
we would
They
like to
just don't take
request
it and run. They have to take it.
$50,000 because we
Even
need
they
it
come up
for-
here and they, at the end of the year, they
I don't
come up
believe
here and
any, I don't believe anybody does what you're explaining through your story. No one does that. No one is handed a lump sum of money and say, here, go run with it, and
Okay,
here's
well,
some
then
money.
I don't
No.
understand what, then I
As a
don't
matter of fact,
understand what the issue is.
they also have to come and show the council where they spent the money at.
Okay, well,
So a
what's the issue?
presentation at the end of the day, where that money went to.
Okay,
It's
well,
not
what's the
just,
issue?
I just think what
there's
you're-
accountability for the money.
I just think what she said, tell me I'm wrong, is it's not black and white where it says here, you can give this much out, and that's it. There's nothing on record anywhere that says you give this much out. It's just the city's giving it out, but there's no documentation
No,
limiting.
they-
how
There
much.
is documentation. There is absolutely
That's what I'm
documentation on
saying.
every dime that goes out of
No,
hot
I'm
funds.
not
There's
talking about that, I'm
documentation.
talking about in the form of an ordinance
So that's
or
what
in the
funds
charter.
the
That's what
billboards,
they're
the
talking about.
wayfinding signs,
Yeah,
you know,
they-
things to promote. That's where it goes.
Yes, but
Well,
they,
I mean,
they
it's
also,
obvious, like,
come
okay,
and do a
there's billboards,
presentation of what
right,
happened with the
that
money.
are out there. There's gonna be
They
a
give you a
monthly bill.
financial statement
You know
at least once a
That's
year
not like,
where the money
okay,
went.
so it's this
Right.
much money, or based
So
on
that she's saying that there's no,
yearly, I don't know.
No, she's not talking about like accountability. She's not talking about like if everybody's turning in receipts, stuff like that. There's nothing in the code of ordinances or in the charter that says you're only allowed to disperse this much percentage of hot funds to
A
a
certain
certain person.
I understand that.
Yeah, there's
But
nothing
sometimes
like
that one individual utilizes
Is
the
more
money.
deserving.
Needs more money to utilize what they're actually doing for the.
Oh, I get that, but they could always do like we do everything else, put it on the agenda, come from the council, hey, I need.
And I
this
believe
You're
that-
limited already to
percentage.
25%.
I believe that's what the
So is
chamber,
it 25% every time you
Oh,
come?
no, I agree with you. I'm just saying what she's going at. That's what.
I'm understanding that, but
Both sides.
sometimes 25% ain't
no,
enough.
I was just gonna say,
Mary.
that's what the chamber does. The amount that is allocated to the chamber is done as part of the budget process, followed with a contract. And it's an annual contract that the city has with the chamber to promote the city and market the city. And they determine the percentage that they're gonna give to the chamber. That's done, through a partnership that the city has with the chamber, to
Okay.
provide those services.
Yeah. Elise, it was very important that you hear what she just said. Could you repeat what you just said about the chamber?
No, I was just saying that the chamber, the partnership that we have with the chamber to promote the city is done as part of the budget process. And then it's followed up with an annual contract. So during the budget process, the council determines how much they're gonna give the chamber in hot funds. In the past, they've done 70%. This year, they did 55%. So the remaining amount that the city has in hot funds, we're gonna take that amount, we're gonna open up an application process for entities, to apply for those funds. And that's gonna be accomplished through that resolution that we presented earlier, the very first item that was on the agenda today.
So when they get and this is just
But-
a question,
but-
and I'm not trying to speak from memory, it's been a few months since
Yeah.
we did all this, and I'm trying to remember what the board said, so that's why I was conversing with them about if I was missing something. I'm just trying to relay, like I said, I'm just relaying what the decision was on it. If they're getting 50%, are they also getting additional for individual events and stuff, for extra things? Or is it just the 50% and nothing else?
That's it, for the hot funds, that's it.
Yeah.
50% and that's it, they don't get anything
That's
over
it.
that 50%?
No, that's it. It's a one-time you come and you get that, yeah.
No, are you talking about the chamber?
We're
or
talking
are
about
you-
the chamber.
You're
No.
talking about the chamber?
Change.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe they do, for the shrimpery event, there is an additional cost that they do get,
Yeah.
and that's to cover, I believe it's the security at the shrimpery
Security.
event.
I think that's where people were having the issue of, and I agree with shrimpery has been great. I think it's dwindling now, unfortunately, but as all festivals are, which kind of sucks because it's just where we're at in life, you know what I mean? But, I think that's where the issues were, the board members and the people that were, most concerned about this were coming from, was they just wanted it to be more diverse, more, yeah. And I think what you're doing, Mary, with in January, I think that's gonna take care of a lot of it. It's opening it up. It was just, and I'm trying to do the best to remember to explain what was coming at us as a board, what the reasons were, but it was mostly for just getting other organizations involved. It was really looking at the numbers and saying, it's pretty much the numbers have been staying stagnant. And so what can we do to change that up with the hot tax to, where it can be spent to bring in more heads and beds?
Yeah, that
So
deal.
that we can bring more money in.
That
is
deal
what
and
it's
it-
ultimately about.
It
They-
wasn't about putting
they did a
anyone
march of totally
down or
take care of this.
anything like that. It was like, okay, well, what we're doing right now is not working in the aspect of it's just staying the same. Like, we need to be, that, you know, we need to be going up. When you looked at surrounding communities, we're like way below par on hot tax money.
I think the application process,
And-
I'm thinking
And
will
I think
fix
that's
this
gonna
problem.
do a lot, I really do.
Yeah, it's-
But that's where it really was coming from. It's not about like, it was just about, well, okay, well then how do we do this if, and that was the way that the board felt we could come to a decision that we're, okay, well, if we only put a percentage that they can only, that any one entity could only receive so much, that allowed others to know, well, hey, there's money out there for us if we're doing this, let's do these things, let's get out there, you know what I mean?
But the way this amendment, this proposed charter amendment is worded, it would limit one entity to just 25%. Is that the way you understand it, Mr. Isasi?
No more than 25?
No more than 25%.
One
So you'd
entity.
you'd be
Which would
strapped to awarding no more than 25%.
Directly impact the chamber drastically.
I know.
And
That's
salaries.
what I'm saying. If that
Okay, so
happens,
that's
who's
not the
gonna
way I
operate
read
the
it, so
business
explain,
center?
oh, whoa,
And it's
explain that to
Marcy
me
does
again.
the biggest grant writer.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty
you're
much
saying that
disbanding
the
the
chamber would
chamber.
only get 25%?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that can't happen at all. That would be, you would completely cut out the
Then
chamber.
we're really.
Well,
No, that absolutely cannot happen. Huh?
Marcy does all the.
Marcy does all the grants for the city, some for the
So,
school district,
You cut that off and see what
for the
happens.
chamber. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think that
Yeah.
if the
We're literally
concern was
cutting
that
back
there were
on
groups
hardcore.
out there
So now I'm
that weren't
explaining what
aware.
this 25% was. It's for the chamber to only get 25% of the hot funds.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that can't happen.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh,
You
okay.
see what I mean? On that last
And
meeting
maybe
for the
that's better
hotel.
Yes.
for ordinances as
If they
opposed
start
to,
seeing a
I don't know.
reduction, they have to
Yes,
close
I think
jobs
so.
and pull
You know,
out.
We'd have to
Right.
close the chamber.
More the messenger
Huh?
No, the visiting
Trying to
center.
recall
Yeah.
everything that we
The
discussed.
visiting center is one
That's
thing.
up to y'all. I'm not
No.
It's up to the council.
I'm gonna vote on that.
You're doing good.
I'm not gonna be part of the destruction.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, that would, as you said, that would kill the chamber.
I'm not gonna be part of that.
That's
No.
We
Why would it
definitely
be a
need the chamber to operate, the visiting center to operate.
It's the
A lot of
visiting
people that come
But you
through
also
town
said
stop
the
at
chamber and
the
the
visiting
visitors
center
two
just to
entities,
find out
correct?
about all
It
the
would
business.
kill the
and everything
visiting
else here.
center, not
Yeah,
necessarily the
there's two
chamber.
different ones.
I'd lump them all together, so, yeah, but,
Yes.
yeah.
We need, whenever tourism comes into town, they need to go to a place to where they can tell them, hey, you know, there's this place, there's that, this is what the city is actually about.
Did y'all say that the visitor center and the chamber is two different entities?
I don't know, they promote the city quite a bit.
Yes or no?
They're in the same building.
They're in the same
Two
building.
different
Yes.
entities, correct?
Correct.
So, right now, are they sharing the 50%?
I have to get clarification on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
If that's what,
Because I was gonna say, I
still
mean,
get it.
I mean, it's not necessarily taking away from someone, it's just.
Now,
I'm
if
just
that-
gonna add that.
If that's true, what you're saying, I'd be for that,
Yeah.
because I'm all for scaling back some, but in increments. So if that's scaled back 5%.
Without Rosemary Vega here to
Yeah, I know.
be a part
Yeah.
of this conversation, it's just,
Yeah, I don't
we
know.
need her input on this.
Yeah, chambers play a very key role in cities.
Absolutely.
We could not, we don't
I don't
have,
think anyone wanted to cut them out,
That is-
but
Yeah.
it was just, and that's why I'm bringing up, like, if visitor
We might
centers
wanna
an entity,
reword
chambers
that
an entity,
percentage, but
there's
I mean, I'm just,
50% right
that's
there.
up to y'all.
Well, if most of you care it cuts 5% back, I'll tell you, I'm for it, because I'm not for cutting somebody 30%.
To where you lose
After
all your
year.
staff and stuff.
But if you scale back 5%, still.
But
get
we've already scaled back
We
from
did.
70 to 55. That
Well,
was huge.
the whole
That
part
was
of it.
Yeah,
a,
the bigger
a
the
huge-
chamber gets, the more members they get, the less money they ask for.
yeah.
Well,
The chamber is pretty much the pulse of the community. I mean.
It absolutely is the
Yeah,
pulse of the
it's
community. You're
crucial
right.
for the community.
As far as tourism and
They
promote
look
the
towards these
city,
funds to operate.
Very, very big part. Look at the
Yeah, I don't
commercials that
agree with
come
the
out, look at the stuff
25%.
They do.
Okay. Next. I think we're moving on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause-
we're,
yeah, 'cause
because
I-
we're not voting on anything, we're just
I'm-
discussing them.
I'm having issues at the restaurant, so.
Now,
Okay.
now this other one,
Well, we got a few more.
I want to do a little bit more research on this one, because, I mean, I just don't feel comfortable with this other one, where it says, amending the charter to limit the sale of utilities outside the city limits. And in this case, it's saying that it's okay, the city can provide these services to residents that live outside the, I guess, ETJ of the city, as long as they're willing to be voluntarily annexed. See, I've got an issue with that language there. I think the city needs to make reasonable efforts to try to get water and sewer to those individuals, if it can be done. If not, there's other things that those individuals can do.
Yeah, but right now, we need to worry about all the parts inside the city to get sewer and water.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that the only one that we've done, and only water, no sewer, is for that, place, where is it to, in Rockport, going to Rockport? The ones that we're, feeding water to?
City by the Sea.
Yes, but there's a lot of places here in town, from 8th Street, 9th Street, 7th Street, all different places. The Rhodes Avenue, there's Guile, there's
Myrtle, West Myrtle.
all
they got
7th Street,
water
all that,
storage.
to where we need to concentrate on doing the water and sewer.
Well, that's kind of different than
But
what we're
here
talking
is
about
just to
here.
show water, because now why are we gonna sell it and, spend so much money for infrastructure or sewer?
Right.
To people outside the city.
And I
They
don't
don't
know,
even pay taxes.
I don't know if you can make them voluntary annex because of House Bill 347.
No, you
tweaked
can't.
that a lot.
You can't.
Right?
The only
That's what I'm looking
annexation
at.
you can do right now,
Yeah.
the only one annexation you can do right now is voluntary annexation.
Exactly.
That's it.
We provide
House Bill
Rockport terminals
347
with
not killed
water,
all
so
that.
we can annex them.
No, but it's,
I don't think that's what that was.
I sure don't want to supply sewer to somebody out of town.
I think yes
I
on
don't-
this one.
And then, I think we're getting pretty close to the end here.
I'm sorry.
This other one makes sense, dealing with providing, I guess when somebody's coming in for utility service or what is it, zoning changes, right? When you send out notices to individuals, right now, you're required to send it to individuals or residents that
yeah.
reside 200 feet. It's
500.
being amended to also send that notice to property owners located within 500 feet of that zoning change. Which, not much more, but it's just a little bit longer. And I think the code only requires up to the 200 feet.
200.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
so that's your call.
The purpose for that was because, I know right now we have main streets and stuff that are longer than 500 feet, but any new ones that are being built or by the standards manual cannot exceed 500 feet. But so if something was to change, let's say on a dead end or a cul-de-sac street, that doesn't, there was a zoning gonna be changed, we believe everyone on that street should be able to get in.
I'm okay with it because it looks like it's more good graces from the city.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
shows that, I mean, if something's gonna change on somebody's street that they live in a residential area,
Yeah.
they should get a notice, not just
And
their neighbor. And
I agree.
I think
A lot
that
of
was
people
brought
don't
up.
pay attention.
That was brought up last night at the meeting.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
somebody was outside, right outside the 250.
And he would have been,
Yeah.
notified if
And
this would have been like
that
this.
happened on my street, and there's only
Yeah.
4, 5 houses,
Yeah.
and only myself and a neighbor. And then on the backside, one neighbor, so out of probably, there would be 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 8 houses, 3 people got a notice.
Yeah.
And it affected 2 dead-end streets, and so they didn't even, nobody else even knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so that's the purpose is, and then it matched the
Now-
standards of what we will be building for, if you live on a road, well, at least it's a little more buffer.
And again, this is something that also for consideration is, do y'all want to do it by way of amendment or by way of an ordinance?
That'd
You can
probably be
accomplish
better
it.
by ordinance, Elisa,
Yeah.
doing this.
Ordinance. Yep.
Just amended the ordinance.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much have that in already.
Well, it's 200 now, but we could change it to 5.
Yeah.
You gotta do that pretty quick.
400.
Yeah, we could.
And I would say if that's, especially if that's gonna save money on a ballot thing.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's
I think
something we
that
could
would
do
be
quick.
All right.
Okay,
Moving on.
The last one.
Last one.
Okay, and this one, I'm gonna tread water very lightly on this one.
What was the good one?
This one here is dealing with recommendations that are being made by the committee that was formed by the council. It's like a committee, some other cities, when they're going out for insurance for their employees, they form a committee to see where they can get the best insurance and best rates. And then that committee brings a recommendation to the council, right? And the council decides where they're gonna go with A, B, or C, whatever, right? The planning and zoning does the same thing. They meet, they bring recommendations to the council, and you guys decide whether to go with them, table them, need more research on it, and then come back and deal with it. Sort of what we did with the pier issue, right? There were some issues trying to figure out, okay, before we spend this money, do we need a little bit more testing? This is a recommendation being brought to us, but we don't feel comfortable. So you all stepped back and did a little bit more research, and then came back last night with more details and approved it, right? What they're asking here is that that process be bypassed, okay? That the recommendations they bring to you shall immediately go to the voters. And I know they've done a wonderful job, they've spent a lot of time and all that, but I wouldn't recommend that because that bypasses your authority.
Well, there is a way you can do that, and it's already in law. Like, let's say the council shoots all this down, Elise could grab this and get a petition and get 6% of the registered voters in town to sign it, and that would automatically bypass the council and put them straight to the ballot. So that provision's already there in state law also.
I believe that's in our charter also, that's the initiative
Yes.
referendum.
Knock all this down.
This is something we looked at that other.
Me, and any
communities
changes
do
like
too.
that,
It's not
I'd like
just
to
for
see it
you.
first.
Yeah.
Like, that's
But
what
it
we
is so
table
that
all
times
those.
and
Oh,
wasted,
yeah, no,
it is,
but like, let's say,
For one, too, we were working with the city attorney. I know our city, this year's been a little nuts with the changes. So typically, every 2 years, a committee should continue to be meeting like it's supposed to. And they will be meeting with whoever the city attorney is. So there
I
is
can't hear.
guidance. And it's not like
Can't
it's
hear
just 9 to 11 random citizens that are just throwing crap in. This is something that, you know, there's a lot this time because there was so much that was out of date. It's just the way the wording went, just, it hadn't been really looked over. I don't think it's gonna be an issue in the future. I think that you're gonna see sometimes no changes, and then people are, probably in 2 years, people are gonna look at most of this and go, looks good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the attorney's gonna go, well, this, we probably should have done this, let's add this, and there'll be a couple of changes. That was the number one question, the very first meeting we had, was that, when the committee found out that it would be coming to y'all and y'all could shoot down everything we had, that was an issue for everybody.
Why would you think that we would shoot down everything that you had? We're not
It
shooting
wasn't-
down
it
everything
wasn't
that you have.
would, it's that you could. It was
But that's-
that we could work and do all this and put all the efforts in, and you could.
But that's
say,
the process.
We don't want.
But that's the process.
Okay, but that's why we want to change the process.
Well.
And as citizens, we find that important, and it was, it's a good faith thing. Why wouldn't you leave it to the voters? If you feel that strongly about certain things in here that are gonna change, then you will get out there and speak to your, voters and to the people and say, this is why we need this to be this way, or this is why vote no on blah, blah, blah. And then you'll have people that are very passionate on, you know, that say, no, we want this, vote yes. It's just,
So every recommendation that comes to the council,
We gotta say yes.
we should just say yes.
what I have asked of y'all from the get-go was that on what the committee has given to y'all, you unanimously just say, we will put it all to the voters.
But you're just one group. We have many other groups like planning and zoning
Right.
and
No,
others, so
no,
everything that they
no.
bring to us, we
From
should
the
just
charter
say,
review-
okay.
From the charter review committee, not P and Z come and say, oh, put it to the.
But why should we change our process just
This is-
for the charter
this
review
is
committee?
Because
Not
P
me.
and Z doesn't go to the ballot.
There's
For
no
something
even
to be
having a
changed on the
council members.
charter, it has to go on
Pass
the
everything on,
ballot.
and say,
It
take it to the
doesn't just
voters.
go to y'all and you pass it. What you're approving or disapproving or saying nay to would be whether it goes on the ballot or not.
It's not whether it goes in the charter or not. So that's why we're saying P and Z doesn't come to you and all of a sudden something goes and gets put on the ballot. That's not how it works. So you're comparing apples to oranges.
Well,
So
in a
this
couple
is
of
a
years,
community that is
y'all will
more-
get to review, my opinion, because we're not voting on anything right now.
No.
But my opinion on that is that in a couple of years, another group's gonna have the same opportunity. So
It'll be
if
totally
something
different.
doesn't get passed this time,
It will then
it
go-
can be
Redone.
y'all
That's
can
the point
put
of
it
the
on here
charter
the
review.
next time.
Yes, that is the point of the charter review committee, is that y'all.
Every recommendation from the Charter Review Committee is not necessarily what the elected officials by the majority of the city, not just a few hand-selected people, expect out of us.
Exactly
And
why
talk
you
about
each picked.
spending a lot of time.
Which is exactly why
Oh, my.
you each nominated
I
two
spend
people,
time
so
and my
that it
money
would
going
be
different places
an
just to do
unbiased
what's
group
right.
that could come together and work together and say, trust me, there was so many other things that got shot down and voted on that was important to one person or another, that they thought had to be on the ballot or had to come in front of y'all that wasn't. And this wasn't just 9 people or 11 people with their opinions. This was put out to everybody, like it should be, to all the citizens. And so.
Well, I know
that's why we are
personally,
asking-
I'm not shooting down everything that's in here. So,
No, and I understand that, but when the voters
either.
vote for y'all, we vote for you to do the everyday running of the city. We don't ask you, though, to just make every single important decision for the voters. We're not
We were
signing
chose
our
to make
lives to
decisions for the
you
voters.
in saying that you get to make, we still ask you to hear our voices.
thank you.
And then-
We heard you. We have
Oh, I
heard
appreciate it.
you.
I'm
We've
so
heard
happy
you. We know,
you're
yeah.
We've heard
listening.
you.
It makes
I've got
me
one
so
question for
joyous.
y'all.
Yes, Donald.
Why are you against term limits?
Who
I'm
said
not.
we were against term limits?
Huh?
Who said we were against term limits? We didn't, none of us said we were against term
You know
limits.
how rumors
Against
get
what?
started, that's the reason I was-
Yes,
Why
and
are
you,
y'all against
you
term
of all
limits?
people should not listen to all those silly rumors.
I'll tell you, me personally,
You're very condescending.
anything
No
in
one
here
said that we
needs to
disagree
go
with
over
term
there
limits.
and let everyone out there vote on it. And at the end, we're all voters, so if somebody doesn't like something, go out and campaign against it, go beat somebody against a tree, tell them to vote against it, or whatever,
There's
let
things
people
I'm not
decide.
gonna
The things you're taking up there,
But that's not what the
you
point
gotta have
is.
some common sense, some sense, you're not.
Yeah, but
It's not like, you know what, because this group says we ought to put it in there, let's go ahead and
No.
sell the harbor, let's put it up for sale. No, of course it's not gonna go. But should we put it up to the voters? Same difference, you know what I'm saying?
It comes to
I mean,
the sale of the harbor.
let's have a little bit of sense to it. Let's have a little bit of sense to it. I mean, we got elected to do a job.
Thank you, Mr. Isasi. You did a great job
Yes,
going
doing
through
that.
these and explaining them to the
Not
council.
ain't no
I think
sense in
it
me
will
being
show
here, just
good
everybody
faith
else, just do whatever.
to the voters.
Let the voters decide every day, come out here and hang out here, all the voters, let
Elise.
them vote.
You and your crew did a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I gotta go.
All right.
Mayor
I
and
gotta go
council,
take
can
that
I
Yes.
take an opportunity to ask a question
I've heard.
regarding?
Yeah, Candace, you need to go?
Yeah,
Okay.
I gotta go take care of my business.
All righty. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. What was your question?
And this is for Elise. I had asked our city attorney to bring a request to the Charter Review Commission about doing the review every 5 years instead of every 2 years. It's very, very costly
Oh,
to the
costly.
taxpayers, and so I just wanted to know what happened with that.
Who,
We can't.
Didn't hear anything about
It's
that.
in the charter to.
Right.
Yeah, and we can't,
But
by
that
law,
could-
we
But that's
can't
what we're
make any
doing.
other
I was just
amendments or
curious.
changes, to what we've done as our recommendations. So that would have to be put on in 2 years. Y'all would have to look at it then and then. see.
oh, that's right, you
We
can't
make
add to
those
it.
changes.
No, I'm not asking to. I asked Thomas to bring it to the Charter Review Committee, and I was just curious if y'all discussed
I'm sorry,
it.
I thought you were talking, sorry. Did we talk about that? I feel like we maybe did, but I think we all said no.
Okay.
Yeah. That does seem kind of familiar, but I don't think it was,
Because a lot of cities do every 5 years.
5 years.
I think we did vote on that, we said no. I don't remember that. That seems, I can put it out, I can send an email to you, but it seems vaguely familiar.
Okay, I think we're moving on now. moving on to the next item?
I think,
Open meetings.
Yep.
and I'm gonna, Texas Open Meetings Act can cover an array of things, okay, but what I wanna focus on are things that I think have affected, and I wanna say my community, because I'm now part of this community, whether I'm interim or not. The relationship between the community and the council relationship. And that's what I want to focus on. And first of all, I'm going to reflect on that meeting last night and the meeting prior to this. I think the first meeting we had here in December. After the meeting, there was a comment made by the first meeting we had in December, and I was very impressed and happy about that comment. There was a gentleman sitting right here that praised the council for being so professional and working diligently and getting things done. He says, I mean, we haven't had a meeting like that in months. He says, and I want to commend you guys for being professional and getting the job done. Okay. And let's look at what council did last night. December 2nd, we had an issue. I think some individual on this side of the room got up and said they were having issues in the neighborhood with traffic going by so fast. The chief or officer took the initiative. We came up with an ordinance, amended the ordinance, lowering the speed to make that neighborhood safer. And then last night, through our discussions, and we heard the community. You all heard the community. You still heard their concerns, and we lowered that speed limit to 15 miles per hour. What are we doing? We're working and we're building a great relationship with our constituents. These are your constituents, right? You're being professional, courteous. You're working hard to try to resolve problems. And again, the harbor, we took hot funds to do what? To improve that pier, to make it better for the community, to attract people into this community. You know, make this community foster, grow. And those were all actions that you all did last night. We were able to finalize a sale on a big piece of property that was kind of like a sore for the city. There was a lot of remediation need to be done, and we got that accomplished after so many years. When that takes off, that's going to be a huge project for the city. It's going to be revenue coming in. And who got that done? Y'all did. And maybe at the beginning you all didn't see eye to eye on everything, but you know what? You all agreed to disagree, and you all did it civilly, respectfully, and you appreciated each other's comments. And that's all we can do. I've represented several cities, and there's no difference what's happening here in Aransas Pass as other cities. You have individuals that are passionate, that care what goes on in their community, and they come to the meetings. They come to the meetings to express how they feel. Some might be more articulate than others. Some will lash out with frustration, anger. But that's what they are. That's who they are, and that's how they express themselves. Okay? All we can do is listen. All right? They have a right to criticize. They have a right to even cuss if they want to cuss. I wish they wouldn't, but because someday there might be some kids from high school sitting here observing a government class, and they got to listen to all that. But that's their right. As long as those comments are not addressed directly and making personal attacks on each and every one of you, they're entitled to that. They're entitled to criticize the council's actions for doing what they did. Many times a question comes up, somebody gets up here on an item that's not on the agenda. Like December the 2nd, and I'm going to refer back to that issue with the speed in the neighborhood. Somebody came up and addressed that. We couldn't comment much other than say, you know what, get with staff and we'll look into it. And we sure did. The very next meeting, 2 weeks later, we came back and the council took care of that issue. And that's all we can address. That's all we can say. If that item is not on the agenda, all we can say is, please contact staff tomorrow or as soon as possible, and they can get with you and see through it. And if not, maybe we can put that on the agenda for next item, right? agenda. But that's what we can do. We cannot engage with them on a full debate if that item is not on an agenda, okay? Because, again, we're restricted under the Texas Open Meetings Act, okay? How much can the state come down on us? They probably could if somebody's going to be looking at our meeting saying, hey, well, what's going on in Aransas Pass? They have an agenda, but yet they're talking about anything in the world under there. They don't even follow their agendas, da-da-da-da. And who are they going to come down first? On the city attorney, because, hey, you're sitting right there and you're not telling them to stop, right? So if I ever take that type of action, it's not that I'm being disrespectful to the community or to that member. It's just that I have a duty to you all to protect you, to protect the city and make sure that we're in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, okay? And for the most part, I think that the council interchange with the community has been great. There have been some moments, but those moments don't detract from all the good things that are fostering, that are happening here in Aransas Pass. And I would encourage you to keep on working hard. And it's okay to disagree. I mean, today we had some very good discussions on these amendments. It doesn't mean that we dislike what the committee did, or we don't like what they brought some great ideas, and some of these ideas will be implemented and go to the public. And which ones do and which ones don't, that's what you all decide on, okay? Again, it's okay to agree to disagree, okay? Now, communication between the council. The chief executive officer is your mayor. Okay, the mayor calls the meetings. He takes charge of the meetings. Okay, if someone's out of order, the mayor needs to call that person's attention. You know, out of order. And we've adopted rules of decorum. Okay, I don't know if y'all have them. I think it's a 2-page rules of decorum. And I don't know, and maybe if we don't, before every meeting, we should put them up here so that the public can see those rules of decorum and have physical copies of it up there or right here as soon as you walk in, so they can get a copy of those rules of decorum to see what it is and why we're doing certain things the way we do, okay? Very important, because those rules of decorum, again, guide our participation with the audience, and not only that, but how much we can interchange with them and interact with them, as well as what goes on up here with the council. Okay? Because first and foremost, the community is looking at us, right? And I think I said it one of the meetings, is that you can have a potential investor sitting here wanting to come in and bring in a multi-million-dollar project into the city, but if all they see is disgruntled city council members being disrespectful to each other, and not that that's happening, I haven't seen it, okay? You guys have done a great job, but that could potentially ward off that investor. Where are they gonna go? Rockport, Portland, Sinton, you know, that whole area has been growing quite a bit. So we don't wanna do that. We wanna be able to keep them here, okay? Now, if for some reason the mayor is occupied or talking to somebody and something's going on that somebody's not sticking to the agenda, the mayor pro tem at that point would take charge and say, hey, we need to get back in order. Right? But anyone on this council has that right to say, hey, mayor, at this point we need to get back to order. We need to get back to the item on the agenda because we're swaying off. Right? You all have that power to do that, okay? But when we do it, let's be courteous and polite to each other, because again, the community's looking at us. They're looking at me. They're looking at the chief. They're looking at the city manager. Everyone in this room, and now we're live on YouTube, the internet, and people watch. But for the most part, like I said, I've been here a month and a half, and I've enjoyed this experience. You know, there are some hiccups, but every city has hiccups. And the great thing is that you guys can work through those, and you guys are working through those. And doing what's best. I mean, just look at your actions last night. Every great thing y'all got accomplished last night. You know, we got water to that Mr. Lamb that y'all looked at. Finally got him some water. He's going to do the work, but he's able to go forward with his project. Some of the other 2 or 3 projects I talked about. These were all actions that y'all did because y'all worked together. And that's why the community has elected you to work together and make these tough decisions. Okay, sometimes they're not pleasant, but these are tough decisions that y'all have been elected to do, and you vote your conscience. You vote your conscience what you feel is right, and God will guide you in your decisions. But all I ask is that let's stick to that Open Meetings Act and get a hold of those rules of decorum, because those will also guide you, okay? Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse to the pulp, because Texas Open Meetings Act I mean, I've gone to seminars and it takes a day and a half, 2 days, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff. But I thought that area there was kind of touchy, that I wanted to share some comments and some thoughts with you guys on that, and with the community as well. But again, you know, I just want to thank each and one of you for working hard and doing what you all need to do. Okay.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Usasi?
Yes, sir.
I believe for those that are going or something, we have that training in San Antonio that's going to go over that extensively.
Yes, that Open Meetings Act.
Uh-huh.
And that's a excellent class. And you're going to come back with some ideas. Say, okay, maybe we can facilitate that. And as many of those classes as y'all can undertake, I would encourage you to do that. I know the TML conference comes around every year. I don't know if y'all make plans to go to that. I mean, there's that big TML conference. You got all kinds of little conferences going on all over the place, and you pick and choose the one that you want to sit in and listen on, and bring home some ideas.
I think there's one thing that confuses people, even the towns around here. One thing during a meeting, it's during citizens' comments. Because you always hear council can't have dialogue back and forth with the person at the podium, but Chapter 551 of the Open Meetings Act says you can have back and forth dialogue if it's factual information. And that's been something that's always confused me, because you'll hear attorneys say, don't do it, but
If it's an item that's on the agenda, like let's say there's an item that's on the agenda, and he signs up for public comments, and you know what, I'm going to defer my 3 minutes until that item comes up, then at that point you can exchange, because it's an item on that agenda. But let's say I just want to come in here and talk about whatever, you know.
Yeah.
It's not fair to anyone else, because nobody knows
yeah, and that's
what's going to be thrown at you, and
I thought that too, and so you don't get off the legal cliff, and it's like, well,
Exactly.
you did that, you're on your own. So yeah,
or you might commit yourself or the council to something without thoroughly looking at it, and that's why we always say, you know, I appreciate your comments, and we'll look into it. If anything, get with staff tomorrow, and maybe we can put you on the next item on the agenda.
Yeah,
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that.
Is that the answer you're saying we should give?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Unless again, they deferred their 3 minutes to talk about an item on the agenda, then you can interchange, because now it's clear on your agenda what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it's just personal attacks. You know, what we said, if we kept it business, we might move forward a step or two. Can't
Yeah.
control that. That's citizens' comments.
Yeah, I mean, the act says that there shall be no personal attacks. They can criticize, but they can't say, well, you know, damn city attorney, no, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
You know.
You should
that's a
watch
personal
some
attack.
past meetings.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'll send Haskell and ask them. But no, that would be a personal attack, and that couldn't happen. Okay. But other than that, I mean, just keep on doing what you all do. Professional, courteous, and discussions. Sometimes the discussions can be a little heated, but they're good, as long as they're constructive.
We've
not
trudged
destructive.
through.
Yes,
We've made it through.
yes.
Through the
That's
worst of times, but that's exactly what we did. We sometimes might have got a little unprofessional, but a person can only handle so much aggression and so many lies and rumors that come towards you, and sometimes you do get a little overheated in the moment. But for the most part, I would say 99% of our interactions have been very professional from
Yes.
this council.
Yes. And again, I think, again, someone mentioned it again last night, that they were very pleased with the meeting that we had last night. So I commend you guys for doing great work. Keep it up. Okay? And I'm always available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, this last item shouldn't take so long. Currently, we have, of course, our 2 regular council meetings a month. And in addition to that, we usually have a workshop meeting, and sometimes we have special meetings during the month. What I wanted to propose to council was, instead of having a separate workshop meeting, bring those discussion items to council. I was going to suggest the first council meeting of the month, because in that meeting, we don't have public hearings. So we can aim to have that meeting, maybe have a light agenda, and bring those discussion items to the council during that first meeting of the month, and do away with the workshop meetings.
I agree.
Now, that's
We
not
all
to
agree.
say.
Yes.
Okay. That's not to say that, during the budget process, we will still have our budget workshop meetings, and, from time to time, there will be a need for us to have special meetings, but do away with that extra workshop meeting.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. What about did you skip sale of city property?
Yes, I'm sorry, we're going to postpone that item.
All right, that's good. All right, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
2.
All in favor? Yes?
Look,
All right.